so I like seeing how I can apply this technology.
So aloha, thanks for everyone to kind of get to know each other and see where we're all at. And, definitely a lot of enthusiasm towards natural farming and Master Cho, and kind of think everyone's realizing it's like a deep subject. Sorry. So my name is Drake. Born and raised in Pune. Been teaching natural farming for since 2008. So it's like 8 years now, 7 or 8 years, like it's definitely taken over my life. Just figuring out about fermentation, like even realizing that your thinking process, your thought process, is actually occurring because of aerobic fermentation. That's why oxygen to the brain is so important, because you're always aerobically fermenting, which means with oxygen. And if you cut off the oxygen, then you go into anaerobic fermentation, which produces alcohol, which then pickles your brain, and that's why you get brain damage when you get the oxygen cut off, because you're constantly fermenting, and your brain uses a really form of glucose. So it's important that you eat really high quality foods that you can deliver this glucose to your brain. Whereas today our modern diet is high fructose corn syrup, which fructose is not glucose and cannot be broken down in your brain. So when we see our children running around and their bodies are super hyper, your body can run on fructose. It's a type of sugar. Your brain cannot run on fructose. And so essentially you're powering up your body but shutting down your brain, and realizing that it's a fermentation process that's happening. They literally cannot use the fructose in their brain to think. Your body has to convert it somehow to something, and I don't even think the fructose to glucose conversion is possible without heavily taxing your body to make that happen. And so with understanding concepts like this, and understanding like how the body works, how the microbiome works, how that we're just fermenting, we're these fancy, mech organism, like a machine, all these organs working together, that's really based on these small fundamental principles of the same thing, that you put a lot of microbes in a bucket with food, leave it exposed to oxygen, and it converts to vinegar. That same process, it's self-contained in us, and it's happening, and we're going through these processes. So the more I've gotten into natural farming, the more I've realized it's connected to everything. Fermentation, the microorganisms, majority of our medical problems, majority of our environmental problems, majority of all these things, when you start to discover microbes, you start to then see the solutions to them. Because majority of the problems is just about recognizing the micro life, enhancing that, and then the macro larger picture then comes back into balance and into focus. So it's not reductionism down, it's understanding that it's a whole system down. All these small systems working together, creating this larger beautiful thing that we occupy, that we're here. So I've been really just passionate about discovering more and learning more, and talking and seeing, and thanks. So how, by show of hands, how many people went to Master Cho's seminar? Raise them high. Come on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So seven of us here. So the guy I learned from natural farming is this guy right here, Han Q Cho. He's getting pretty famous now. He's gone through a hard life. He only had a high school diploma, and in Asia, that if you only have, it's similar to here. Like if you're a Bush's hippie from Pune, and you go to the Department of Agriculture and say, I got this great solution, they look at you like, go back to Pune, man. And so it's really hard for us to get credentials and get a good message out, even if you discover something that's amazing, without going through the system. and the system then tends to like beat those good ideas out of you. By the time you get to the end, you're, you know, just so it's kind of a catch-22 of like no credentials or get the credentials but then lose your soul or whatever. Yeah. Sorry to all those researchers. They still have souls somewhere. So I learned from him, and then and as Steve mentioned, there's kind of like recognizing the appreciation of it. It took me a really long time to figure this stuff out. He speaks Korean, and then he also, it's not just a different mindset of Korea, like not just that we speak a different language, but the Asian mindset is completely different of how they even approach, you know, systems and ideas. And so, you know, translating both the mindset and the language, and trying not to lose anything in that process, and trying to make it understandable for us has been quite a journey. And this guy here and this book here, we have these copies now. We got a whole bunch. He brought a bunch with him. So we have these. If you want some, I can maybe bring some to the next class, and then have them available. This book right here is it's gonna be, I think it's $30 for the book here, because it was 27, but he wanted us to raise it to 30, so that way we could get $3 for our organization. But it has a whole bunch of recipes in here, and he also talks about his philosophy, and then has nice, like his little cartoons are probably the most easily translatable across from the ideas that he has to our ideas. So this is talking about seed treatment solution, and you know, it's like simple as a kid learning from these cartoons. Same for us, like it's the easiest way to get the ideas across. But in this book, he outlines, essentially there's about 8 core recipes to make 8 solutions in natural farming. Probably the most famous of them is is IMO. So, you know, people may have heard of IMO or just that as like the general, just IMO is out there. So IMO is one of his solutions. IMO are the indigenous microorganisms that are everywhere on everything. But there's about 8 recipes in here that talks also about his philosophy, and then you can really understand what he's doing. For me, just recently on this trip when he visited, it was good to hear his basics seminar, because it's all about the basics, like, you know, getting those right, seeing the ultimate core, what's up is that's what it's all about. So even though he's kind of giving like the basic seminar, I was still picking up new information and like learning, and just the more exposure you get to this stuff over and over, because it's so deep, it's just like you can learn more. And I think almost everybody that went to the workshop was extremely satisfied with what was happening. It's kind of intense because it's oversaturating. You get like everything in 3 days. It's like, here it is, and so it's a lot to then digest and go through, and that's why I audio recorded and we made a video recording of it, so that way we can, you know, you can go over that information again, and the more you see it, the more you're like, oh yeah, because as you start to practice it, then things make more sense to you. At first it's like, you know, it's all this information, but when you practice it, then you're like, oh, you see where the pieces fit together. And so for me, it's been really, really a benefit that way. And truly, that's how I've developed myself, is practicing. And then also by teaching, people ask me strange questions that makes me think about it in a different way. So teaching's really helped me learn as well. And it's amazing how diverse this, like, someone can go through the same steps and come out with something completely different. But his recipes here are, you know, are very precise. It's like baking bread. You have to like go mix the flour with the eggs, with the salt, and then the yeast, and let it rise, and then you put it into the oven. You don't just throw all that stuff in the oven and expect bread to come out. You go through a step-by-step process where you even wait for the bread to rise, right? You mix the yeast in, you wait for it to expand and rise. Same thing here, there's these steps and you have to wait for some of them to naturally occur before you can move to the next step. So here, teaching natural farming down here, I can't do it all in one day. This is the 4th class here kind of in this series that I've been teaching. And we've been going through the IMO process, which is the indigenous microorganisms. But we were going to go up to stage 4 of the IMO, but Dana, who's been kind of really a huge help here to like keep the pile, cat too, just to like. But so I didn't want to go to the next step right now because she's a little injured, so she needs like a week or so to rest before we go to the next spot. I didn't want to just like do it without her too. It'd be kind of like not cool. So so we're gonna take a little break on that of the IMO process this week. But what I did want to bring to you this week is that kind of a transition between what we saw this past week, which was Master Cho and his ideas, and today talk about Cho Young Song and the guy who's coming this next week. It's Master Cho's son, and he's coming to teach us. And so I wanted to kind of give a preview into that and talk about his methods and how essentially he's taken Master Cho's things, which are like it's like the Ferrari, like the finest quality thing, and bring it down to like the Toyota truck, which is like more affordable, more practical. And so I really wanted to go into detail there and answer any questions that you had that may have come up at Master Cho's seminars, and to kind of help us see the difference there. So yeah, I'll pass that on. So what I wanted to kind of start today with was, you guys had this. It was everyone had a sip. Awesome. So the reason I usually start by passing something like this around in the beginning is because then it gets us all. This is a medicine. Did anyone notice any of its effects?
Definitely feel the fermentation inside my system.
Yeah. What do you mean by fermentation?
Kind of like when you drink kombucha, just that feeling that you get when drinking kombucha. Like there's just like life activity, life force that's gone into my body. I don't really know how to describe it.
Like an activation kind of.
Yeah.
I think I felt some heat maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Heat activation. Anybody? Yeah.
On your tongue, you kind of feel thirsty on your tongue. We were talking about that the other day. And then I feel like there's sparkles inside almost.
Like almost like champagne.
Yeah, like I do.
I felt some settling. I like tasting a lot of smoothie this morning, and sometimes when I have too much cacao early, it's like it doesn't sit right. But yeah, I was like, kind of really cognizant of like taking that intentionally and like soothing, and I feel like it just kind of went away. That uneasiness I felt from the cacao.
Have another sip. I'm going to pay a little more attention this time.
Is that fermented plant juice or IMO?
No, so this is the medicine, and the acronym that they use for this one is OHN. And last time I was here, we had a similar thing to this. We had the HHN, which this one here is Hawaiian healing. Nutrient.
Do you have the recipes on your YouTube channel for these?
This one is Oriental. I do.
Cool.
Healing nutrient. So Yeah.
Can I ask you the same question you asked us? How do you feel, or what are the effects that are noticeable to you when you take IMO?
So this OHN here, this is OHN. This is not IMO. This is OHN. So I just want to be clear. There's, like I said, there's 8 different recipes. This is one of them. This one is the acronym OHN that we use. There is IMO. It's separate than this, but this one is the OHN. And so when I drink it, I feel like a fiery rush that comes in. And the bottom line with this one here, it's interesting that you said it kind of settled your stomach, is that it's a digestive aid. So the common denominator between all the different ingredients there is that they all have to do with digestion. And so when I was talking about fermentation is just external digestion. So when we want to do fermentation in our systems, if we include a little bit of this in every recipe, it's just going to aid that metabolic process. It's going to make it a little easier for them to digest. That extra heat that you felt when you drank it, perhaps it like warmed you up a little bit, helps as a biostimulant to kind of, like just like that little bit of warmth that helps kickstart that microbial process. So there's 5 different things in this. So I'll write them on this side over here. So did anyone tell me what they tasted in there?
Cinnamon.
So cinnamon,
Garlic.
cinnamon,
Garlic.
garlic. 1, 2,
Ginger.
ginger. 3,
Licorice?
yeah, licorice. You actually taste the licorice?
A little bit. There's a lot of garlic.
Yeah.
There was something that reminded me of wintergreen for a second, or something like that, and then it went away.
Wintergreen. There's no wintergreen in it.
I don't think so.
Some kind of sugar?
There was sugar added. Sugar's a secondary part, yeah.
Some fennel.
Fennel you might have gotten from the licorice flavor, the anise part of it. Yeah, sorry, I'm right in your way.
Turmeric, didn't you say?
No, so turmeric is in this one. So this one that we had last time had turmeric. So this one had-
Okay.
But there is no turmeric in this one, and but in the Hawaiian Healing Nutrient. So this one over here that I'm writing is what's in the OHN. This one over here was in the Hawaiian Healing Nutrient. And what we discovered was in that one last time was turmeric, and then garlic and ginger. So the Hawaiian Healing one had 3, because these are the ones you can get at the farmer's market. You go down there, you can get turmeric, garlic, ginger, all those things. Whereas the cinnamon and the licorice and those things are, you kind of got to order them, or you got to know someone who grows enough. And the hidden 5th thing, which I don't, no worries that we didn't get this, because I don't think anyone really knows what it tastes like in isolation, is Angelica.
Oh yeah. I was trying to.
So I don't blame you for not getting that one, because I don't think anyone really knows what Angelica tastes like by itself. But this Angelica, actually, of all these, this one is twice the potency, so it's times 2. So there's twice as much Angelica, and then all the rest of them. These are all 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. So it's twice as much Angelica.
You mean in terms of volume?
Yeah, so there's, yeah.
Like 2 parts.
So this whole thing has 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this last one has 2 parts. So I'll just write it here. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2.
Does Angelica grow in Hawaii?
Yes, it does. It's really easy to grow. It's almost like a celery plant. It's like a giant celery. That's how I describe it. Grows really well. You can get seeds here locally and grow it. It's amazing stuff. Yeah, so all of these plants here, all of these things are very medicinal in a lot of different ways. These are kind of the 5 classic Chinese healing herbs for digestive issues. You go Ayurvedic or like holistic healing, Chinese healing arts. These are what they're going to prescribe to you to help you digest and to heat you up a little bit. Like I said, the common denominator between them all is the digestive aid. So we're trying to help things digest out there. The other cool thing about this, and the reason I had everyone kind of drink it in the beginning, is that it's a medicine. So any pathogen, which is bad bacteria or bad fungus that's thriving in your system, will be repelled by this. So it kills bad microorganisms, but it leaves good ones intact. Like I know garlic specifically. I know the mechanism that's happening in garlic is garlic has
So just take a small sip of that. Small sip.
So I know the mechanism in garlic specifically is garlic has enough sulfur content in it that the sulfur in the garlic hurts pathogenic fungus but leaves the other ones fine. So by having a concentrated sulfur, bioavailable sulfur, that's how that part is working. But all of these have their own little ways of working. They have whatever nutrient in there and whatever balance that then it focuses and it takes just the good microorganisms. The cool thing about this medicine here and this component of natural farming is that you can take this every day. You could take it every hour if you wanted, and you wouldn't build up a resistance. Some things like some antibiotics, if you take them too soon or you take them when you don't have a problem, then your other microbes build up resistance. That's how we get things like MRSA, where it's built up this resistance because people haven't taken their antibiotics properly and or they're overprescribed. And so this one you can take all the time, anytime, and it takes your immune system up and then it plateaus and it stays up there at that plateau versus going up and then crashing. It just raises your immune system and stays up at that higher operating way of doing things. So had it all started this way. So the process to make this, someone said they tasted a little sugar, and it should taste a little sweet when you taste it. And it's everything in natural farming should be edible, should be palatable, should taste good, should want to drink it. And so in the beginning, what we did was we took these ingredients, and then if you're starting with wet ingredients, like I get fresh garlic from whatever, as fresh as the fresh garlic is at the market, and I take it and I mash it with a rock, then I'd mix it with sugar and let it ferment for a few days. So about 3-4 days to let it ferment first. The fermentation process enables the microbes to go in and to open all those cells up and open it all up and get it all ready. Then to get the medicinal benefit, I then add, soak it in alcohol. So in this case, I think we used, it might have just been vodka, but I sometimes distill my own from sugarcane and make my own hard liquor and then make it this way. But essentially the alcohol then, once the cells are open from fermentation, then the alcohol can then extract out the medicinal benefit. And so when you taste that, it's already pre-digested by fermentation, the digestive aid, and then it immediately goes into your cells because alcohol will just take some component and just jam it into your cell. Like the way alcohol works, sometimes cells won't take in liquid unless it's the right way, but alcohol everything just goes straight into your cells. That's why you get drunk so fast. You can drink like a shot or two of Everclear and all of a sudden you're just like drunk and it's not even been like 5 minutes. It's amazing how fast alcohol can transfer directly into your cells. So if that alcohol is bound with some medicine like the cinnamon, then that cinnamon now enters into your cell. And so you can inject all this medicine directly into your cells really quickly in your whole body. So that's the reason for tincturing it, because had you just drank the fermented cinnamon juice, you would have the nutrients in it, but your body, it wouldn't go into your cells. But when you tincture it and you bind it with alcohol that way, as soon as you drink it, it has to enter your cell. So it's a way of like making the medicines way more potent in terms of our absorption of them, is why they would tincture things. So yeah.
How much sugar, and it's just the brown organic sugar that we mix with the garlic, right?
Yeah. And you mix the sugar. There's the recipe for this is it's definitely online, but it's about a third of it, a third of the weight of the garlic with sugar. You mix that. That enables it to ferment, and then after you're done tincturing the jar, you have the garlic that you fermented. Then you put the alcohol. You leave the alcohol for about a week to 10 days. Then you pour off that liquid. Then you pour back some of the liquid back into the jar, and then you refill it with more vodka, more alcohol. And so you pour it off, then you pour it a little bit back in to kind of reseed your batch, and then you refill it with alcohol. And you can pour it off 4 more times. So from your initial garlic that you start with, you can get 4 extractions of alcohol. And each time you extract it, you pour a little bit back in, so that way you keep that seed going in there. And I just fill up the jar about a third with pour back in, and then keep like decanting, like pulling that off.
And right away, then you can mix it. Whatever you pour off, you can mix it with the other tinctures, or no, or keep it separate for a while and then mix.
So Master Cho, we kind of got some criticism about the way he was talking at the conference, because he was talking about a lot of romance stuff, and the way he described this is basically that you want to keep it by itself as long as possible, and only mix what you want to use. If you mix it too early, they start interacting with each other and you get interesting results. So you want to keep it as pure until you, so in Chris Trump's case, where he did a 75-gallon tincture, like he has 75 gallons of OHN. He has a 35-gallon drum of Angelica, then like 15 gallons of cinnamon, 15, all these different things, and he just mixes 1 gallon or two gallons or whatever he's going to use. He just mixes those to the right ratio and then has a usable batch. So he's storing them in isolation and then only mixing what he needs right at the last part. And that's by far the most high quality way, because the longer you store OHN, and this is the more effective it gets, because the particle size start to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So then if a microbe was only this small and the particle size is now that small, it's effective. But if it's a fresh batch, the molecule, your ginger's this big and your microbe's that big, it can't eat it. So the smaller it gets, the more effective it becomes. And that just happens with time. Just like an aged wine is better, right? The flavors, the way, the same idea here. This is like really high class wine.
So do you do that same process separately with each of those herbs?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the cinnamon with, like how much cinnamon? Do you use ground cinnamon or do you use?
So we use the
sticks?
cinnamon bark. So I guess I'll get. So we understand like what this is. I can actually go through the little recipe part with you, so we can go through it.
I hear about it.
Yeah. So basically, when they teach OHN, they do it in 2 separate ways. The garlic and ginger are kind of separate because those are usually fresh ingredients. And then the cinnamon, licorice, and angelica are usually dried ingredients. You can buy them like China store on, or like Oahu for sure has it, or some other Asian markets here. You can just grab a bag of cinnamon, and it's just the cinnamon bark peeled. Yeah.
Powder or barks?
No, you don't want the powder.
Yeah, sticks.
You don't want the powder. Yeah, sticks.
Is cinnamon bark the same thing as a cinnamon stick?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought, where am I going to find cinnamon bark?
Cinnamon bark is from
In the Asian
Chinese herbal stores. It's,
Oh,
it's
okay.
easy, and then they're a little bit thicker and curly, while the ones that are used for cooking are much thinner and small.
Okay.
But for medicinal uses, I have a Chinese medicine background. Anyways, so yeah.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you.
So thicker ones are better
Yes.
medicinal.
Yes.
It's actually better to get the bark because a lot of powders are counterfeited. They're
Oh.
counterfeit. They're not
Okay.
real. And yeah, the bark is the cinnamon. The cinnamon's in the bark.
It's been cut already.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
cut
but
it like
that's-
it's terrible.
Every dealer it goes through, they get their cinnamon and cut it a little bit.
So you grind them, you smash them up?
No.
No need.
So let me just be real clear on how we're going through. So we should probably do this as a hands-on time one time, but since I think, well, I'll just kind of go through the recipe with you and try to be as clear as possible. So what I'm gonna do is pull up the recipe on the computer here just so you can all kind of see what, and I'll just explain kind of how we go through.
What
But
we just
has
tried.
anyone done tincturing before? Yeah. So everyone's somewhat familiar. And has everyone done like a ferment, like made a kimchi before?
I haven't done either of these, but I'm
Are
really
you here for the
interested.
workshop?
Yeah.
Oh,
Should we initiate?
Yeah.
Drink how aged was what we drank today? That
There's
was,
a chair
It's
back
from
there.
2014.
Or you can sit on the couch here if you like. Plenty options.
There's a chair right here.
Jake, I had a question about the ginger. You know, there's a lot of like cousins around here, like the shampoo and ornamental and even like galangal and stuff. I was wondering if any of those work.
Yeah, they do. They should. So essentially here on this, I'm at naturalfarminghawaii.net. This is the website that I've been running for a couple of, at least since 2010. And on here, there's one of these on the main menu. It says Learn Natural Farming Online. And then I'm just going to go down to this first option that says How to Make and Use IMO Solutions, which website's layout is subject to change. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to like read like a decade of information. So initially, it's kind of the video up here at the top is where I was talking to some farmers from Ka'u, and they're farmers, so it was interesting to kind of talk and explain to them the nutritional things. Then the next bit I have here, this is I gave a talk last night to the Hawaiian Homes people out in Waimea, and this was basically this picture was the only thing that I used last night. I used like 2 pieces of information to teach them all the principles of natural farming, and this is kind of the one I start. Oh, this isn't it, but this is kind of the one I started with. Of this graphic here, basically explains the reason for natural farming. That if you see where weeds are growing, you'll notice there's 10 bacteria and 0 fungus. And then if you notice in a nice forest over here where the forest is really nice, you'll find 700 bacteria and 7,000 fungus. So weeds, 10 and 0. Forest, 700, 7,000. So you have lots of fungus where trees are growing, no fungus where weeds are growing. And I was saying basically we need to get to this middle, which is where it's 600, 600, it's balanced. And to do that, that's where your veggies will naturally thrive. If your biology is balanced fungus to bacteria, by weight if you were able to weigh them somehow. We just do it through visual analysis through a microscope. Then your veggies would want to grow and your weeds would not want to grow. If you, however, you spray poison or you till or you destroy your biology, you're then going back to this scenario where you killed your fungus and now weeds are going to want to sprout again.
I'm curious. I've heard some other like really famous farmers talk about like tilling and how it's bad for this, like the crops and intentions and things like that. What is your argument for no tilling?
It takes a lot of labor to till on machines, and you spend a lot of calories just for no reason. But yeah, I mean, knowing like with seawater and the tools through natural farming, there's really no reason to till. Your soil can get as soft. Like, I've seen trees grow through rocks. Go up to Thurston Lava Tube and you'll see roots coming through rock. Totally, that's what they do. So they can grow through rock. So why make it soft for them? Usually they'll till the top little bit. Your plant will grow in there. There'll be plenty of roots, but then it'll only be in that area. Versus you don't till and you plant it, the tree will naturally grow to other areas. It's not just going to stay in that soft, nice area that you've prepared for it. They can penetrate through really easily. So sometimes the grass and I'm going to try Master Cho's corn idea and really go with that to be weed suppression. So the general idea, just while I'm on this slide, I'll get to the OHN, is that if you go to the forest and you collect where it's that 7,000 fungus, and then you bring that to your land, that's where you want to grow veggies, and you spread those microbes there, you're then going to probably be more in this range in the middle, which is this balanced range, because you went to this extreme environment, you brought it to this one, and now you're somewhere in the middle here. So that's the general theory on it, is you go to a microbial rich environment, gather them, bring them to a place that needs that life, then it balances it, then it's much easier for the biology to grow the crops you want. So that's why when you go to learn natural farming, that's one of these slides, it's just, I think most people just kind of gloss over it and don't understand, but this is what I'm trying to say. This is like the fundamental of what we're trying to do, is to balance the biology in the center so that the above ground plants are going to want to be there. So you don't even need a microscope. You can go look where there's weeds, there's no fungus. You go look where there's trees, there's probably pretty good fungus. A healthy tree, a tree that's looking healthy. You can tell what's happening under the ground. You go to a place where they put a whole bunch of wood chip mulch, and there's nice taro growing, not a bunch of other weeds. It's because they've created an environment for that fungus to be there. The taro's happy. The weeds are like, I'd rather prefer a more bacterial, more grass-oriented environment. So by changing your mulch, you can change what grows underneath. You can change these whole systems. So that's there. Then on this same page, it goes into this slide here. This slide here, this is the basic way of, it says all those 8 solutions I talked about. So we have our 8 solutions here. Then across this way, it starts with seed soak and seed preparation, or transplant soak and seed soak. Then it goes to growing leaves. Then it goes to growing the flowers plus the root structure. Then it goes to fruiting and the seed production. And then the last bit is an enhanced ripening. And so this is the other fundamental with natural farming, is that not only are you going to balance your biology and bring it so that your fungus and bacteria are balanced, you're also then going to go to this stage, which is, okay, my plant is growing leaf right now. So I know as it's growing a lot of leaves, it's like putting fat on the body. It needs a lot of protein to do that, to build DNA, which is amino acids. So when it's growing leaf, you know, okay, I need to adjust my spray to include more. We get amino acids from fish. So you increase the fish amino acids, now it's going to be able to grow that kind of meat, which is a leaf. Leaf is like really like meat. Then as you grow this meat, typically our plants are over nitrogened and we grow obese plants. That's why real susceptible to bugs. You know, we think, you know, like obese people are not in optimal health. Why would we want to make a plant obese? But often we're addicted to like that green color, the real like lush looking plant. So we tend to over nitrogenize and overdo this leaf growth stage. But as a natural farmer, to balance that off, the only thing you need to do is add more structure, add more bone underneath, you know. If you're big skinned, you need to be big boned, right? Got big bones.
That's a nice way to say it.
You know, so the way we do that is by taking calcium phosphate. So we take bones, we char them, and then we dissolve them in vinegar so they're immediately available to the plant. And so if we've overgrown leaf matter, then we add this bones to it, and that adds the structure as well as the roots and helps it to flower. Then once the plant is then fruiting, then we switch to calcium, which translates all the energy that it's collected, all this sunlight energy into it. The calcium helps convert that into sugars. So from like chlorophyll and that type of energy into a sugar, which is then going to go into a fruit and make your fruit really sweet. So fruiting, and then the enhanced ripening contains more calcium, but also seawater at higher concentrations. And what makes a fruit super delicious is its nutritional content. So if it has all these trace nutrients in it, you're going to be like, wow, this is the most delicious orange I've ever had. Mm-hmm. But if for some reason some trace nutrient is tied up, you're going to taste it and it's going to be like, it's just, you know, it's just not that great. And so right at the end stage, right when your fruit's ripening, we put a lot of seawater out there. Seawater has every single element in it. They're tied up as salts, but when you dilute them, the salt pulls apart, and then the plant can then uptake, and it can get the gold it needed, can get the cobalt, can get every element it needed into the fruit, and then the fruit is even more sweet, more better. You can Master Cho was talking about increasing the sugar content of the sugar cane by 3% by using this, which that's huge money. Huge money. If you can increase the sugar content by 3% in something, that's another, that's money. Like, when they go to make sugar, they now got 3% more sugar off the same harvest, same labor, same time it took to grow, by just doing this treatment right at the end. So all your fruits can be super sweet, and then the calcium really helps the peel. Oftentimes we'll harvest fruit here, and if you get a rain in the morning, then the fruit will burst. Like, you go harvest lychee, and then the skin will pop during the day. And the calcium will help to strengthen that shell. It's just like an eggshell, really hard. You spray the calcium, and it'll help to strengthen the shell. So if you have papayas that you pick that get soft or something, you can spray this calcium on them, and it'll help them to become firm. So you get the firm skin, you get the sweet fruit, you get all this, and then this is a spray that you would do right before.
How long does that take between spraying and seeing the results?
3 hours.
Really? 3 hours?
Yeah. Yeah, and so this is the only, through natural farming, is the only method you can get calcium into your plant in less than 3 hours. Every other method, you put it out there, it takes weeks for it to be assimilated. This is 3 hours.
And that's because it's been fermented and it's easily assimilated.
And it's dissolved. So it's already digested. It's like the mama bird already chewed the food for the baby bird. It's just like it eats it right away. It didn't have to do anything. Just swallow, you're good to go.
I had a question. I've been making the calcium with the vinegar, and I noticed that the eggshells you have to take out the membrane. The bones you have to cook and char on a hibachi basically. But Chris Trump had a great idea of just using the coral that you get. And so I bought a bag of coral. It was like so cheap. It was like a huge 50-pound bag of coral.
$10.
Sand that's just pure coral from the other side of the island. And then I put it in the vinegar and it was like, whoosh, and it was like, that was easy to do. But I was wondering what you thought about that. What's the difference between using coral or like, I guess oyster shell would be like readily available if you bought it too, you could just dump that in, you don't have to prepare it.
Oyster shell tends to be salty. Watch for the salt on that. The chicken shell itself has other nutrients in it besides just the calcium, which makes it like the superior one. But in terms of how much labor it is to go from that to that, and on your scale here, for a small garden like like the eggshells is easy because then you just save it for like 2 weeks from breakfast and you'll have enough to like make a batch kind of thing. But on a larger scale here, the coral is where it's at. It's still, you still get a lot of those things plus the then you can buy a 10 or a 50-pound bag and be done with it, and it makes it easy. So the coral for a larger scale is where it's at. Eggshell, however, is it's not just calcium in there. There's other things in there, and so the eggshell has those other benefits to it. But it is a lot of labor to do that. Like in your case, yeah, the coral sand. If however on the coral you want to just heat it up just a little bit to cook it out, you'll get even better calcium extraction. So you don't want to char it. You don't want to make it black, but you just lightly roast it. It'll be even more potent for you. But you can dissolve it how you are, but there's organic matter in there that it won't store very well. Like once you make it, if you don't brown it first and you don't cook out the organic matter, then it'll rot easier during storage.
The coral sand was a little wet, I noticed. So it wasn't like dry, like you're talking about drying it out where it would really have a reaction. I like that.
Yeah. Yes.
So 2 questions. Where I live, what we have in abundance is apple cider vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
Is that substitutable for the brown rice vinegar?
So in the dissolution process, where you're dissolving like eggshells and that stuff, it is. But you'll notice majority of the natural farming recipes actually call for brown rice vinegar itself. And brown rice vinegar is slightly different than other vinegars. A substitute for brown rice vinegar in that case here is banana vinegar. But there's something about the brown rice vinegar that even though it's acidic, upon metabolization, the way it flips and it makes your system alkaline, there's brown rice vinegar and banana vinegar are unmatched in that realm. Apple cider vinegar does it to a certain degree, but it's not as profound, that flip. And so why he's using brown rice vinegar in most things is that if your system's acidic, that means it has a negative charge. And so everything is stuck to this thing, like everything that was positive is now stuck. So you get this negative charge, all these positive things stuck. Now when you take the apple cider, or the brown rice vinegar, the cell eats it, it then flips to be alkaline. Now these things that were stuck now float away because they're no longer, it becomes a positive charge. They're positive charge, now they float away and they're not just stuck. So it helps as a flush. Anything that was stuck, here as you change that polarity, now it floats away. And now these sites are available. Now this new nutrient comes in. Now it's available. That site is open for nutrient absorption. So it helps you to absorb things. It helps you to flush out. It's also, vinegar itself is somewhat of a cleanser. That as it hits certain microorganisms, they cannot exist in the presence of vinegar, acetic acid. So So it cleans out bad guys, it flips the polarity, it helps for new nutrient absorption. So that's why it's included in every single recipe. Of the OHN and the vinegar are in every single recipe, because that's the you want to get these new nutrients and flip it, and then you want to have that digestive aid. So the vinegar and the medicine both provide that function.
And then the follow-up question to that is about taking this internally as medicine.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, so yeah, vinegar is a great thing to, when you...
Well, I mean like with the dissolved eggshells in it, for example.
Yes, and for also helping to like strengthen your teeth and your bones, like it's unmatched. Like that, oftentimes people take calcium supplements, but it's calcium carbonate, which is completely unavailable to your body. You basically pass that out. So if I go and I eat this coral that Steve's talking about, I eat it, I will get no nutritional benefit because I can't break down the calcium carbonate. My body would have to ferment it inside of me to get it. So if I take the calcium carbonate, which is the crushed coral, I dissolve it in vinegar and then I drink it, now it's immediately available to my body. Everywhere it touches, I get that absorption of calcium. So it's an amazing way to get calcium into your body. And like I said about the plants, it happens in 3 hours in the plants, happens almost immediately in you. And this is, all of us need more calcium in our system. It just that's one of, we didn't used to have, or Weston Price did a study where he studied people in high calcium areas. They all had really good teeth, no change in like dental hygiene, and the people that had low calcium soils had all kinds of dental problems. No difference in hygiene. It wasn't like they were brushing their teeth in this area and not in this area. It was like the same, like people brush their teeth, people don't, like everywhere. And so the more calcium you eat, the more your teeth and your bone structure will just naturally be better. And this is a way to get it immediately into your body as a medicine.
Where can we get the vinegar, the brown rice vinegar here on the island?
You can get small bottles from the Asian store and get like legit ones like Kilauea Market. But ultimately there's those organic buying clubs. Like join one of those and just buy it that way because it's cheap.
Can you make
The banana.
It's exceptionally easy to make banana vinegar. Brown rice vinegar, it's a little bit more tricky, but banana vinegar is so easy to make. So plus we got tons of bananas. So I'll talk. I guess I could talk about vinegar now. I was going to talk a little bit more about OHN, but yeah, I'll take questions.
So the way that this is coming into the noggin is the brown rice vinegar is kind of the conduit that just makes it all soluble in your system. But without the brown rice vinegar, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's like doubling your nutrition. So if I apply OHN. Okay, if I apply OHN and brown rice vinegar, I'm going to get twice as much effect of the OHN.
Okay.
It's like a catalyst in a certain sense.
Okay.
It's not quite the right word for it, but it's a...
Yeah, catalyst, conduit.
Yeah, it's
something like that.
Synergist.
Yeah, synergist. I don't know, is that a word?
It is now.
Sorry.
Anyway, I just want to acknowledge how big the glass is becoming.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh,
I'm so proud.
We want our new friends to try the.
Yeah. So it's there. So just take a very tiny
Who
sip.
hasn't tried it yet?
I prefer propane gas.
I had a question
Can I
about
ask a question?
Hang on.
Yeah.
You're not smelling propane gas? I'm smelling propane.
Switch it around your mouth.
Slight. I did it once, like a slight.
It's
I
the
did
OHN
it, but
talking
Keep on
about.
smelling propane.
So it has all those ingredients there on the right side.
Yeah.
I just want a little. Sometimes
So for today's talk here, I'll start with the OHN. I kind of went over a little bit of the theory, kind of just as I got through to this page here. And then can talk a little bit about the vinegar, and then that'll be a good transition to talking about Choyang Song's methods and how all that works out. And potentially, I mean, we could mix one of these up. And
Yeah, that'd be great.
Toby? As part of the class, so if you want to be here, you can drink. Who does? Just let you know.
So, Steve, what do you know about that coral? Because my thing with coral, I always hear, don't step on the coral, don't touch the coral, don't disturb it. And so this is coral from, where does it come from? Are we creating an environmental problem by using it?
They dredge it when they make Kauai Harbor, so they just grind it all up and pretend like it's cool for industry.
They're gonna do it
So she's
anyway.
asking if it's sustainable or not.
They pull it out of Kauai Harbor when they dredge the harbor for boats to come in. So they're gonna do it anyway. It's nice that they put it on, instead of just throwing it into the landfill, they actually put it in a pile and then sell it to us.
Does it grow back after they dredge it too? Like,
I don't want to break your heart, so just pretend like it does.
Where are you purchasing it from?
You can actually get it from Home Depot in bags.
Yeah.
Coral.
Or BEI or any of those spots. It's labeled calcium carbonate, but it's from Glover and it's locally sourced.
I'd rather use local now.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's all that they're doing it.
Yeah.
Does Home Depot send the local stuff?
Yeah, they do. It's because it's too heavy to ship otherwise. Okay, so what I wanted to show you is that basically this recipe that I have here. This is the same page that I'm on. I went through those theory pages. Now I get down to where it says core recipes, and then I have IMO, FPJ, BRV, OHN. So I just read off a whole bunch of acronyms, but these are the tools that we use. And on each one, I list a few sources of learning material. The first is Natural Farming Hawaii. That's probably like a video or a lecture or something I've done on it. Then the next one is UH-CTAR, which is UH Manoa and their ag department, which is College of Tropical Ag and Human Resources. And as a land grant college, they have to do all this kind of stuff. But they published all of our natural farming things, published through the UH system. Took a while to do that, but now this is really cool because now we can say, oh, you can use this, and they can't just be like, we don't know what you're talking about. We're like, you published it. So and then I have the original from CGNF Hawaii, which is, these are the slides that Master Cho went over. That's Cho Global Natural Farming. That's straight from Korea, super Kringlish. And then for OHN, we actually have a workshop that we did at Ginger John's, and Ginger John talking about OHN. So I try to get as many like original sources as I can to put this here. But for me, the easiest one and the most straightforward one is the CTAR papers. So this is, because it's in like this format, which is like standardized format, and it was published and peer reviewed and pretty solid. So essentially this is talking about OHN here. And so they show here, this is working with garlic to make the garlic preparation. They're cutting the garlic. That's way too much effort. Just get a rock and just smash it. Don't pulverize it. Don't completely make like a powder out of it, but just smash it with a rock. Just take the garlic and just smash it and put it into the jar. Mix it with sugar. Save yourself time, effort, use your common sense when you're making these inputs, but also at the same time realize you are working with the microbes, and the more thoughtful and the more conscientious you are about the process, the better it's going to go. So basically with the garlic or ginger, you just kind of make them, with the garlic you mush it, the ginger you just cut it like size of a quarter. Kind of just, you can chop it and or smash it too. Either way, don't pulverize it, but mush it.
So you don't peel them?
No peel,
Isn't most of the like the garlic that you buy at the farmers market, like isn't that conventional from China? And it's sprayed and stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the air we're breathing is also conventional from China. And if you can source it locally, like there's been people in Oregon that grow it legit.
I grow tons of legit garlic.
Yeah, no, in your region up there, Washington, Oregon, you got the hookup. So please figure out how to send that here because
Can I mail some over to you guys?
yeah, no, because what we get here is I mean, it's so hard to avoid these conventional lines unless you know someone, and you know somebody, right?
I grow it myself.
Yeah, you know somebody who knows you, which is yourself, right?
So yeah, I would send you guys over box, you know.
No, and see, so these are the connections that we need to make these supply lines Pono, to know.
Yeah.
And if you have, you know, the excess stuff that you can't sell or whatever, you know, like this is
starting to sprout, so.
this is what you want to do,
Uh-huh.
and this is how. Yeah.
Is that on your website?
Yeah, this is on Natural Farming Hawaii. So essentially, what you can see here is that they combine the garlic with this sugar here, and it looks to me like that's a little excess sugar. You need about a third of it, brown sugar to material. And it's by weight, so you just a third. You know, mix it together. You get this. You leave it in the jar. This wasn't quite 2/3 perfectly, but put it 2/3 if you can, and it ferments in this jar. Then after that, then you fill the jar up with alcohol to the brim and then seal it. And so this is the second step where they're.
Is that beer? I saw them do beer.
So I'll talk about that next. So this is the garlic. You took it, you mix it with sugar. You fermented it for 3 days. Now you're pouring in the alcohol, and now you're at the alcohol pour-off stage. You do that 4 times.
Is that a quart jar?
They're using half-gallon mason jars.
Half-gallon, thanks.
Yeah, which is about the right size that I use, because that way you'll end up with about 5 gallons of OHM at the end if you use half-gallon jars.
You're saving the alcohol, right? You pour it off and you're saving that.
Yeah, so the process is I got my jar, it's fermented. Now I had it at 2/3. Now I pour my alcohol in, fill it to the brim. I let that sit for 10 days. Every day you can stir it. It helps if you stir it every day. At the end of those 10 days, I now pour all the liquid off, have my jar still with garlic. I take a little bit of this stuff I just poured off and I pour a little bit back to reseed it. Then I take a new thing of vodka and I refill it to the brim. And I can repeat that process of pour it off, take a little bit of the pour off, pour it back in, then refill with vodka again. And I can do that for 4 extraction cycles, like 5 total extractions. So that's how I do it with the ginger, the garlic. Steve mentioned there's beer in here. So when typically if you get cinnamon, licorice, and angelica, they come in dried things from just like the Asian store where they just come from Magic Land. I have no idea. But somehow, someplace, some person grew it and put it in a package and now it's here. I have no idea how all that works, but it's great we imagined all this. So in this case, you got this dry cinnamon stick, right? It's dry, you eat that thing, it's dry. So you want to rehydrate it, but you want to rehydrate it with a fermented product. So you have your jar of cinnamon, and then you just fill it with beer until you've covered up to 2/3. So I fill my cinnamon in, and I fill it with beer until I've got 2/3, and then I let that sit for about 3 or 4 days. And that simulates that same other one where I fermented with the sugar. It simulates that because the beer is already a fermented product. And so it helps to soften up, and that little bit of alcohol starts to soften this dry cinnamon stick, or this dry licorice, or this dry angelica. It softens it, it opens it, and then it has a fermented product into it. So that's where you're using the beer.
The dry ingredients are getting sugar as well, or just beer? Okay, thank you.
No sugar into the dry ingredients, because you're already getting that fermented product, which is the beer added to it. So note to yourself, Hawaiian microbes love Heineken. Must be a green bottle. You can use anything. You can use old English, whatever, malt liquor. It doesn't matter.
Cheapest is fine.
Yeah, the cheapest. Well, you know,
Within
Heineken.
reason.
Use Heineken.
Are there
No, local
organisms
stuff
still
is
in the
good.
beer?
No, typically our beer is pasteurized and it's dead. It's just that the fermented process, like
So you're not doing any more fermenting. You're just adding it into the matrix of the.
to rehydrate the stuff with something that's fermented. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you didn't have beer, it's not the yeast that you're going for in the beer. It's just that it's fermented. Could you use something else that's fermented to open it up?
You also want the alcohol content. That slight alcohol content really helps. So a beer at like 3, what is it, 5% or 3% alcohol really helps. Yeah.
It goes up to 8%.
Yeah. I think that's like old English and stuff, like malt liquor. Yeah, that's it's a whole nother game. Brass monkey. Yeah. So really pretty simple on this step. This process takes quite a while though, because for 4 pour-offs, that's 10 days. That's 50 days worth of, so it takes a month and a half of doing this process to pour it off. And if you're really good about it, you stir it every day. It's quite a process. So Chris, again, he recommends not just making enough for like this year, but make enough for like the next 3-4 years, and really go big when you make this, because then it's just the part that you save for next year is just going to be twice as potent, and then it's 3 times as potent. Every year it sits, it gets more powerful and more potent. So making enough now for 5 years out, that 5-year-old OHN, like just like this one is 2014 here, so this was a couple years old, that this is like a superior high quality product. It's just going to get better and better and better. So you may as well go big, make it, just have a good storage plan where you can store it in a nice, where the temperature is not fluctuating, and you can store it. And, like even, a shelf down and below there in this kitchen would be a perfect place. If you just had an area where you store it, this building is perfect, nice airflow, nice everything. You can store it right here. And out of sight, out of mind, and then when you need it, you just go pour some, combine all 5 of them together, and then you got your gallon that you're working from when you use it, or the one, you can, for your own health. And that's the way to do it. Don't just do a small batch with this, because it takes, 50 days plus. It's quite expensive to go and to get all the vodka and get everything, and people look at you like you're crazy. You're checking out for a thing with like a whole cart full of vodka, and they're just like, like all the
Same thing, like whatever cheap vodka.
yeah. The bottom, the lowest shelf vodka.
Popov.
Yeah, or Fleischmann's, or those.
Let me, just to clarify, when you're doing the pour off of the 4 times, is it okay if that vodka collects together, or do you want to keep the pour offs separate, or does it not matter?
No, so here's my garlic. I've gone through the first stage. Now I pour it off into this jar here, then I pour back a little bit. Now I got this jar that has my pour off, right?
Right.
I refill this. Now I pour into that same jar here that I had, I pour that one off, and then from that jar I pour back a third. So I've mixed my first and second pours back into the my third pour. Okay. However, I did not mix this one with now my licorice. Okay. I kept the licorice over here, but I kept the ginger with the ginger, the garlic with the garlic. But the combining those pour-offs, you don't need to have like
18 bottles.
No. You just need 5, your fermentation plus your pour-off. So you need 10.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, because so really the important part is to keep each of the ingredients separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
It helps them get more effective when you store them in that manner.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and here again is kind of just, this is the graphic that I'm kind of, even though I'm listed as an author on here, I really didn't do that much. But I did, however, make this graphic, which just shows all 6 of the things being combined into this one OHN. So it just shows you it's all these products combined plus 2 of these. That's why there's 6, because there's 2 Angelicas. that way you get twice as much. And this then makes that OHN process that you tasted. And it was nice and smooth, right? It's nice, good, and it just gets better with time that way.
I want to clarify the Angelica, just because people that might not have been at the seminar do actually make 2 batches of Angelica rather than doubling it. And the reason you do that is because you're having the 2/3 and you're working with those proportions. To actually have 2 separate jars of the Angelica rather than doubling it.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
She did do that.
she's just working with 6 jars
for me,
versus
so.
5 jars. We work with 6 jars.
Yeah.
And we did ask Master Cho. So this Hawaiian healing nutrient is a Hawaiian modification. In Philippines, he's just using ginger garlic. Here in Hawaii, we also have turmeric. Turmeric's also highly medicinal in a lot of different ways. I've heard from people that viruses cannot replicate in the presence of turmeric.
Wow.
So if you have enough turmeric, whatever the component is in there, it's arrests virus replication. So we asked Master Cho about this. I actually brought this sample here to Korea, and he tasted it, and he said, "Oh, it's good." He said it should have been sweeter, which I think when they're doing it in Korea, they use soju, which is rice wine, which is naturally sweeter, whereas we use vodka, which tastes like turpentine. So I think our sweetness didn't come through in that realm, and that's what he was referring to. But he said that this one is good as well, and this one is superior though. It just the way these things synergistically work and all their effects, and the way like if you feel sick at all, use it. You'll immediately feel better. And if you don't, then you're really sick. So deal with it.
Could we substitute it with soju?
Yeah, you can. So
Because those are like pretty good sale once in a while, but it's good stuff.
yeah. So soju and especially if you're making it for human health, that way soju versus you use Fleischmann's, which who knows? They probably make it from petroleum these days. Who knows what it actually is? Fermentation may or may not occur in that product.
Can you add turmeric to the OHN?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to get to, is that would then be another single component would be the turmeric that you could also add to this. So instead of just 5, you could actually have 6 in there, and the 6th being turmeric. And we asked him, and he said, yeah, do it. Like that would be, just in his realm of where he's at. I just don't think turmeric is as common there. But for us, it grows everywhere. It's really easy to grow, and it's a great thing to add. So the 6th component being turmeric.
Replacing Angelica 2 as just 1 Angelica, 1 turmeric? Or
No.
just adding 1
So then you would have 1 part cinnamon, 1 part garlic, 1 part ginger, 1 part licorice, 2 parts Angelica, 1 part turmeric.
So 7.
Yeah, 7 jars in that case. And you totally can do that and then just, use it as normal. It's just it's as powerful and as potent.
I'm sorry, did you say where you find Angelica?
We grow a bit here. Kim just had hers go to seed, and she gave me some seeds. I have yet to sprout it, but you can order seeds online and then sprout it, or there's cuttings. It's easier to grow from cutting, I found, and so locally there's a few nurseries. Down here in the Pohoa region, there's a lady that grows it down Hawaiian Beaches. I don't know, like I've lost her contact information in the meantime, but I know that's where she was at, and she was growing it. Her husband's like an orchid farmer, and she just grows Angelica because she uses it medicinally. So they do exist on the island. Look for it. It's easy to grow once you get it started. It's just like celery. It's really, really nice plant.
And soju, nowadays they have all these different flavors of soju. You just want to stick with the original.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that you're not.
Hawaiian microbes like Heineken, so they figure out.
So let me ask one question. So if you grow the Angelica, then that means it's fresh.
Yeah, so then you'd follow the fresh recipe versus the dried recipe.
That was what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What property does that plant have besides digestive? Do you know? Why 2 of those?
because it's not as, these other ones are fiery and potent, and you needed to double this one because it's more subtle in how it reacts. And so this recipe, this has come down through Japan, through a long history, and I haven't done all the science to like figure out why these things, and no one's really explained to me exactly why. But I guarantee you start researching these things, especially in Chinese herbalism, Chinese medicine, you'll find that this oftentimes with Master Cho's stuff, I'll get it and I'll be like, oh, why this, why that? And then later I'll research it and it turns out to be like the perfect combo for like so many different reasons. So I guarantee there's a lot of good reasons for why this happens.
And he touched on, in history, it's been extrapolated through heat, and this fermentation process is a relatively new spin on that.
Like oftentimes you'll, like today if you go, you'll find like essential oils of these, which is great, but an essential oil was heated and denatured. So whatever compound this cinnamon had, which was this complex like goose looking thing, was now heated. Now it looks like a lump of coal, and so you're getting the same nutrition, but maybe that goose looking thing had something that connected to this cell that this now melted lump just can't connect to. And so the less you use heat or pressure for extraction, the better. And this here, we're using at the very first, we're using osmotic pressure with the sugar, which is very subtle pressure. And then the heat we're using is the heat from fermentation, which is very, it's like 80 degrees or something. It's almost ambient temperatures for us happening. So the heat and pressure used are very subtle, and so the extraction you get leaves the majority of your compounds very intact. And so for the fermented plant juice, as well as this OHN, the extraction methods via just tincturing and not heating up to get these essential oils, you get the medicinal qualities that much better. So any further questions on OHN or that recipe? Or I didn't talk about how to use it. So any questions on that before I talk about how to use it?
So let's say if you're using it for personal use and then whatever, a few acres of land, like what's the amount that you would suggest, like, when you're making it, like for a few years, what's the amount that you like, I don't know.
2,000 gallons?
Okay.
No.
Oh my God.
You're going to be like, oh, I got so much.
The farm is doing great.
It digests really well.
Yeah.
No. So what is the dilutions and stuff? And this is something you can work back from. I personally, I think, right as us as natural farmers being kind of the front runners on this, that if you make a ton, like as much as you could make, and you have 3-year-old OHN in 2020, that's going to be so valuable because everyone else is starting they're starting in 2018, 2019, 2020. Their batch isn't going to be nearly as potent as the one you made today then. It's just like you get in the wine industry today, you have that, now you have vintage from like 1990 bottles of wine, and everyone else is like, well, we got like 2007, and you're like, yeah, what's up? And so my recommendation is to, like, if you get in it now and you really think, and I see this as the future in agriculture in many ways, that if you make enough of this stuff now, it could be a huge investment for you to then pay off later. Everyone else is going to be scrounging, so that, keep that in mind as like, how much should I make? Well, if you want to make it as an investment, make a whole bunch.
Have you done the basic costing analysis of this? And like had like a rough idea of like how much you would invest versus how much you'd get? Because I am interested in investing in this.
Yeah, the OHN is definitely one that you can invest in because the alcohol doesn't go bad and you can keep it forever. And it's just going to get better and better and better. It's just like a 100-year-old whiskey. So from that perspective, no. I do have a spreadsheet that I have all the costs broken down and then what it actually would cost you to treat an acre. So let me just bust that out here. And so you asked about. So is everyone clear with this? I'm going to erase all this here.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things I try to be careful with in natural farming is that we use a lot of we have 8 different tools, and we have a lot of different acronyms. And so when you're first getting exposed to natural farming, it may be confusing because you're confusing 2 components of why do I use OHN versus IMO. And so what I want to say is, so IMO equals the workers. So I got to make sure in my environment there's enough workers out there in the ground, in the soil, in my system. I got to, if I don't have workers, I can add all the food I want, but there's no workers there to eat it, to do the production. They'll naturally come, but you can stimulate it with the workers. So IMO are the workers. This is the kind of the fundamental of natural farming, is we're trying to get these guys to be good out there. So we intentionally cultivate good workers, and then we put them out to our field. And we also then feed the workers that are naturally out there to get them, you can bring in a few managers, but then there's also natural people that are there. And so to stimulate them all to work together is what we're trying to do with these IMO. So the IMO are the workers. These guys are kind of the foundation. Then with IMO, then you always have, in natural farming, you always have OHN, BRV, and FPJ. So this is, again, Oriental Herbal Nutrient. I'm just going to use the acronyms. Is everyone cool with that? Mm-hmm. So the Oriental Herbal Nutrient, this is the medicine. The BRV is the catalyst. And the FPJ is the food.
She's just starting.
So essentially you have these 3 components here, and you have the IMO, which are the workers. You put them out there. Then this is what you consider the maintenance solution. The maintenance solution. So OHN being the medicine, we just had it here. We just had that discussion. It's a digestive aid. It helps to eliminate pathogens. It helps as a stimulant for the soil. And in fact, if you're up in cold weather, like Spruce, when you're in Washington, if you add OHN to your soil, you won't get a frost. Your neighbors and everyone else will get a frost, and it'll kill their crops. If you add the OHN to your soils, you will not get a frost.
Even like on oranges?
Yeah, you can spray it on there because the biological activity, the biology creates heat.
But that's if I apply it foliarly, right? Like onto the leaves, not in the soil.
The IMOs will move the stuff where they need it.
Okay.
And it'll really help. Foliar application will for sure help, but in the soil they'll actually move it. So this will help because it heats the system up.
So if you put it in the soil and then you get to, it's freezing, the heat will cause it to not frost?
Yeah, the microbes, you'll look at your ground and it won't, everyone else's will be frozen. Yours will be kind of like still, you don't get the frost effect.
What about the actual oranges though? Because it's moving it through the system. Will it also keep the oranges from freezing?
Yeah. Because the microbes, you think of them on the surface, they're not. They're inside. They're
moving through.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
That's profound. I would say millions of dollars in California from the cost.
Yeah. Who wants to be a millionaire, right?
That's huge. I mean, if you
it's
can
profound.
Frost damage.
Yeah.
Simply by spraying it with microorganisms.
Yeah. So if you know you're going to get a frost that night, you go spray it, and you won't have that frost happen.
I don't get why people don't know about this.
Wow.
He only has a high school diploma.
Oh, right.
Yeah, don't listen to him.
Yeah.
No, it's silly when you look at it, but where's the science on it? It's like it's hard to scientifically prove all these things why they work. They work. You do it, it works. But like, can you do the science? It's then you enter this whole other realm of like you get your soul pounded out of you. It's like
by
also,
demonstration, though, by demonstrating it works and showing the world how that works.
and that's what we're here to do. And that's
Yeah.
how we're going to change the page. Is enough of us, doing it on the ground level, then it's undeniable.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to change. But it's not going to change the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
So we just got to do it because we know it works. So do it. So this here, the OHN is always in there. That's always a medicine. It's always preventative to take. The BRV, the brown rice vinegar. This is also banana vinegar for us here, which I'll talk about that after this, I guess, to talk about the banana vinegar. But it's that catalyst that just helps that reaction happen. It's going to help absorb more. It's always in there. These three things, and then the
It makes
FPJ.
it acidic, right, basically.
But
You
upon
get the negative
absorption, it makes it alkaline. So even though vinegar is an acidic thing, it's actually an alkalinizer biologically. Believe it or not, yeah.
I just would like that expanded, but it doesn't fit in.
Yeah, no, it's so like that's why
Can
that's
they do
why.
that with lime also, or lemons?
Yeah.
Say lemons alkalize, and
Yes.
it's citric acid.
Yes.
I've never got that straight in my head.
So the way it works, and this is why things like Kangen water and alkalized water can be dangerous, because when you take an acid into your body, like I drink the brown rice vinegar and it enters my body recognizes, okay, you got this acid, so my body then creates alkaline environment to buffer that acid, to keep it within its pH range. So however my body does it, it starts buffering with alkalinity. That is now alkalinizing all my cells as they buffer with this alkalinity. And then they're able to meet the vinegar and to then metabolize it.
But why some acids and not others? Now, oranges will acidify, lemons will alkalize. I mean, if
It's technically the ash. What they do is they burn the fruit, like the lemon, and even though lemon is acidic when you squeeze it, you measure it on a pH scale, but when you burn it and ash it, the minerals are alkaline.
Yeah, that I think that's true to a certain degree, but I think also that's why brown rice vinegar is recommended, because whatever components in it highly alkalinizes you, versus other vinegars, like if I have a sugar cane or a coconut vinegar, it's not going to alkalinize you the same way the brown rice vinegar will. And if you think about a rice plant grows up, throws out a bunch of things. Banana plant grows up, throws out a bunch of things. A banana plant is just a giant rice plant. Banana and rice are almost identical. Super high starch in the inside. They even look like, if you start to look at them, they like, it's the same plant. So banana has that same effect of, it's that grain type of whatever it is. And what I do is I take the banana plus the banana peel and I mush it and I make a vinegar out of it. And I'll talk more about that, but I want to go through this of components, because someone asked how much OHN do you use, or why would you use OHN over IMO? Although Cliff's not here anymore, but it's cool. This lesson's for him. He'll be back.
There he is.
There is.
Okay, yeah. Oh, he's taking photos. Yeah, what's up? So OHN, the medicine, the BRV, the catalyst. We talked about this. The FPJ, that's the fermented plant juice. How many people are unfamiliar with FPJ?
I'm familiar.
Okay, so we got two people. So I'll briefly talk about this. That essentially what we do is we get the essence out of a leaf. So all the vital juices that are in there, it's like I take you and I squeeze you and all your blood comes out. I leave in all the rest of you, but I just get the essence, like your blood that came out. And that's what we're doing for these plants to make FPJ. So we're leaving most of the crap in them. We're just getting out the essence, like the vital fluids, the things that make you live and alive. so it acts as a food source because you can go to different plants. You can get ones that you know are high in nutrients, high in minerals. You can get out their essence, and you combine this here with these other liquids, and that then feeds the IMO. So the IMO are out as your workers. Then these other solutions you're adding as a foliar, just like watering them. It's like giving them a snack so they can start to work better and establish themselves better in your soil.
So they're all, everything's serving the IMOs, the OHN, BRV, FPJ. Their purpose is to make the IMOs stronger and support them. And the BRV is the catalyst for, what is the catalyst for?
Like I was saying, it helps with digest, like that alkaline, acidic to alkaline flip. Acetic acid helps certain funguses break down certain rocks. So if you include this acetic acid, then they're able to like break down this rock and then create, because if you look like many of us are familiar with kombucha. Kombucha is made from a SCOBY, which SCOBY stands for symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. SCOBY. So bacteria and yeast colonizing together create this vinegar, which then has the health effects of kombucha. So it's a bacteria and yeast working together to create this vinegar, and when you add vinegar through this, you're aiding that colony that's growing, because it's not just one microbe, it's a colony of. And so there's a miniature SCOBY on this fungus that's then dissolving this rock that it's trying to eat. And if you include this vinegar, then it's like, oh, I got the acetic acid, pump it to the front, then they dissolve the rock, then they eat through it. So you're assisting them in their natural processes anyway of creating acetic acid, and there's a few other like fulvic and humic acids and these other compounds that they create. So IMO are out. This is to support and feed them, these solutions. This here, this block, I put this square on the outside because this is the maintenance solution. You'll find this is the common denominator between all natural farming sprays. Whether we're trying to grow leaf, fruit, or roots, we're going to conclude this. So this is the common denominator between it, and I call that the maintenance spray. That's the vocabulary I've created for it, because it's called SOS, which the hell does that mean? But the maintenance solution, you're going to go out and maintain your environment. You want to use the maintenance solution, right? Super easy, name it that way. So then basically this here, we then have three components that we add in very distinct stages. So I have the leaf stage here, then I have the flower and root stage here, and then I have the fruit stage here. Fruit. So when I'm here, and this is a timeline, so your plant's going to go through all these stages, going from leaf to flower to fruit, right? The natural progression here. So when I'm here on this side and I have this, I add in fish amino acid. So it's FAA. I'm just going to use the acronym, and this equals the fuel.
So leaf, flower, fruit, then roots?
Fruit and flower and root are the same.
Okay.
This you can think of as structure. It's kind of the way, because it works on phosphorus, basically, is the main component. Phosphorus helps things that flower. It also helps them to grow roots, and it helps them to grow structure. So here I have, so on the leaf stage, when my plant's first starting out leaf, I include FAA, which this I label as the fuel. Because you're trying to get something going in the beginning, you want to start a fire, throw some fuel on the fire. It's then going to burn really fast and get your system cranking. So in the beginning, a plant has a hard time producing its own amino acids. It just, it's just a process of once it gets going, then it can make its own amino acids. But in the beginning, it's like it only has what it had in the seed, and it's trying to produce more, and if it runs out of one, then it can't build the DNA, and it's just... So if you put a ton of amino acids in there that are very simple, then the plant can take off immediately. It has everything it needs. But, however, if you got a fire that's already raging, you don't want to throw more fuel on it. That's dangerous, and it's just not a good idea. So you just want to really use this in the beginning, this fuel, the fish amino acid. So what I'd do is I'd put IMOs out to my environment, I'd make my maintenance solution, and I know I just got brand new seedlings that I really want to get them boosted in the beginning. So I mix this FAA into my maintenance solution, and I use this.
Is there an alternative to this fuel?
Steve's making it out of mongoose.
Fermented mongoose.
It's one you don't want to drink.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't drink either.
I mean, some of the stuff is so easy to make. I got a bunch of fish guts, and from my guy, he doesn't want the fish guts. He brought a 5-gallon bucket. Immediately, we added sugar and stirred it all up, capped it off with a top of sugar, and it was like within, I think, less than 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, we had making 5-gallon buckets of FAA.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
Yeah, yeah. And if you don't want to make it, I mean, you can buy it from somebody. This is one product that is shelf stable, that's sellable, because it's, especially if you make high quality FAA, it's transferable.
So for those of us that are very vegan, I don't mind doing chicken manure, but just from the energetic perspective, I don't personally want to do fish cuts. Is there another alternative?
No, not because the amino acids come from like high nitrogen breakdown. Like meat is the easiest source, so there's not really a vegan alternative to this. Not this particular thing. Almost everything else we have in natural farming there is. Just this one, no, because it's you got to take DNA to make DNA. So when you take this concentrated meat and break it down, it then transfers across, and the plant has too much cellulose in it to then get that nitrogen, like the meat part of it out. So it comes from animal source. Like whether it's pigs on your land, that maybe you don't want the pigs, so you're eliminating the pigs. You can ferment them and then turn them into a garden product. It's even possible to make this out of slugs. I know someone was telling me, Bill's vegan community, they're really against hurting animals except for slugs. So ferment your slugs. Like don't just kill them, put them to good use. Instead of thinking you're killing things, now you're harvesting actually for your garden. So karmically, it's a different whole mindset of trying to make a solution to grow your plants better. It's yes.
So are you mixing equal parts of the say the fish cuts and the brown sugar?
Yes. Yeah, and it's equal parts and even more sugar than equal parts if it starts to smell. And there's ways to mitigate all these things, and I want to kind of go over the overview before we get into how to make each individual thing, because then we'll definitely get confused and oversaturated. So here the leaf spray here. This is our first nutritional stage. It's not as long as you think of how long you want to apply this. It's really like the first 2-3 weeks of something growing, And so a lettuce, that would be your whole growing cycle almost, right? But something else, like a tree or something, you're going to really help it establish, get its, build itself and start to go into the ground.
So then for the lettuce, it would be just actually maybe 3 days or something.
No. For the lettuce, you'd still continue. You'd still just spray like it's almost whole growing cycle. You'd stay in this zone.
Because it is just a leaf.
Because you are just growing leaf. However, you do want to alternate between these. So the next one I have up here is this stage here. So it's the flower and root, and what you're gonna spray is WCP, and which is the bones. So what you do, again, vegan, I don't exactly know, but you can go to a boneyard where there's already bones, like cows naturally fall down and die and their bones are out, like up Kohala, I know there's just bones, like Lighthouse Road, there's a whole pile of bones where just a cow fell off a cliff or something and died, and now its bones are just there in a pile. So you had no part in that, you just found the bones, right? Potentially elk that drop their antlers, you could use something like that. Kind of hard in Hawaii, but there are ways to get bone source without actually someone in your community dies, No. So don't use bird bones. Use weight bearing like goats, pigs, cows, dogs, humans, monkeys.
Mammals.
fish,
Oh, you can.
This WCP.
but don't use birds. So WCP is water-soluble calcium phosphate.
Water soluble calcium phosphate.
Yeah. And so what this does is these two are basically balances for each other. Either you're too high, like you can think of this as the meat, and this is the bones. If you got too much meat, you got to grow some bones under it. If you're too bony, you got to put some meat on your bones. And so you, as a natural farmer, visually looking at your plants, you can kind of see and start to, especially as you start to apply these things, you'll start to see how it changes your plant structures from being meaty to being, because you can look at certain plants where they're real strung out and skinny, and then you can look at another plant where it's like overgrowth of leaf, sort of. And oftentimes what we'll do in farming today is we'll really focus on the leaf because we want the plant to be big and nice and healthy and green and doing all that stuff. So we'll focus really heavily on this edge, but then when it comes to reproducing, it's hard for that obese plant then to reproduce and to transfer all those nutrients from being like this fleshy thing to now giving offspring. And so oftentimes we get this great growth that happens, but then converting all that sunlight energy that it's gotten now into a fruit is where we fail. You'll have a great tree that looks super healthy and then gives you no fruit that year. You're like, what the heck, right? And it's because this transition here of the cal-phos that helps that calcium and phosphorus helps that plant to take, because just like humans go through morning sickness when you get pregnant, plants also have that same transition. And what's happening is a bunch of hormones in your body are transferring from you growing to now reproductive growth. And the same sickness happens with plants, but we often just don't acknowledge it. But this transfer of switching to cal-phos helps to ease that transition. So as the plant starts to get morning sickness, you apply calcium phosphate, and then then those nutrients can switch and transfer and start to grow fruit. And so this is the other component. So say I go look out at my trees and I see, I know summertime's coming up, right? I know my lychee are gonna go in fruit for me, right? And I know it's starting to flower about nowish, right?
I see it now.
And so when you're starting to see this happening, start applying this one, the cal-phos. So in my maintenance spray now, I have my IMOs out there. I now am spraying my maintenance spray, but instead of putting this one in, I'm now adding this. So my 4 components are here, and I start to spray this out there. So now I'm starting, and I notice and I see that, or whatever plant you are, if you start to see it transferring to its more reproductive stage, you add this in there. If you see overgrowth, you add this in there. If you see the plant needs a little bit more structure in it, you add this.
So, have gotten a cut from someone's dragon fruit, and it just grew everywhere. It was such a weed, so we automatically thought that we would get, as good fruit. But it's been 4 years now. It kind of grew, but we've never been able to produce any fruit from it. So at what stage would I be able to apply this so that we can start getting fruit? Because it's somewhat stunted, it appears, too, as far as growth. It looks great. It's just not producing.
So you're getting good vine growth, like good, but it's just not.
It hasn't really grown out. We have it on a wood teepee.
Trellis.
So it grew up and then it stopped. So, we don't even have any fruits coming off of it.
I'd have to see a picture and see the environment that it's around in, but odds are it's something like this. That my ultimate treatment for you is to go get seawater and dilute it 1:30 and spread it in that area, because to me it probably sounds like there's a trace nutrient deficiency somewhere. Something might be tied up holding something somewhere, and if you soak it with that, then the minerals will be all there, and then hopefully that would fix it. Just because but because messing with this kind of stuff, it's more like, well, is it ready to fruit? And if you spray this on when it's not ready to fruit, then you can kind of mess it up a little bit. Versus the seawater just gives every nutrient, and it'll hopefully balance itself out.
They do have a tangerine tree, say about 10 feet away, that's plentiful and has no taste to it at all.
Yeah, so if your fruit doesn't taste good, it's a nutritional deficiency.
Okay.
A trace nutrient deficiency.
Okay.
Because it's still putting out fruits, but they don't taste
There's no
good.
taste to it,
Yeah. So it's a trace nutrient deficiency because that's what gives everything its flavor. So whatever it's something tied up, but
Seawater.
you don't need to know what that is if you put everything, which is diluted seawater, out there.
Got it.
Yeah.
And it won't hurt it by putting too much of something if it's already flushed with like one mineral. And is it easy to overdo it with the seawater, or can you be pretty liberal with it?
No, if you dilute seawater 1 to 30 and then you put it out there, you can't really overdose things. Especially here in Puna where it rains so much, like it's don't worry about salt buildups and that kind of stuff. There's no way.
Put it out
Especially
in the soil or on the plant?
both. They have a term called sprench, which is spray drench. Ted Radovich made that word up. I like the other one the other day. My friend taught me. He's like, yeah, I smulch everything, which is to like smother everything with mulch. Right. So sprench and smulch, right? So what I really wanted to emphasize that these two are this is opposite ends of the seesaw. So you don't want to combine the fish amino acid with the WCP because then you're putting both ends of the seesaw. You're not going to go anywhere. You want it to kind of rock back and forth, and you want your plant to grow a leaf, but then you want the bones to come in. You want it to grow bones, but then you want the leaf to come in. And you're so what you do is in the beginning, you start with just this into your spray. Then as your plant gets about 2-3 weeks in, then you start to alternate every other week between this one and this one. Until you see your plant start to get right before it's starting to flower, then you would just transition just to this one. So just the maintenance solution plus this.
So you mix all those things together in one mix when you spray it. Like let's say it's in the leaf stage, you mix everything there plus the SAA, then you just spray it all over the plants.
Yes.
Okay.
And what I do is I have this maintenance spray already made up. So I just then I have my maintenance spray, which is already my OHN, my BRV, my FPJ combined. Then I know, okay, like right now, Master Chodas came to my garden and said, I need more calcium phosphate. I knew it, but I was just lazy. Anyway, but he told me more calcium phosphate. So now to this general mix that I have, which is my maintenance spray, which is already made up, when I go to add it to my sprayer, then I'm just going to add the correct amount of calcium phosphate in. So I have one jar that's already these combined, and then I just add in these as little, it's like shots into your smoothie, like adding your super blue green algae or whatever.
I see. So all four of the top are already combined, and you just add the booster, the leaf, flower, root, or fruit.
So these three are combined. This one I'm usually intentionally doing or already have it set up, and then these are my additives in. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think you were on the right page.
Yeah.
So what's the ratio for this maintenance solution or Ocean BRV FPJ?
20 milliliters per gallon.
Each one?
Is this one here. So every.
No, I mean the ratio within it. So OHN towards BRV towards FPJ.
So these
each
here,
one is 20
this
milliliters.
ratio is going to be 1 to 1,000. This is going to be 1 to 500. And this is going to be 1 to 500. And if you combine these three together and you get 1 gallon of water, these three, it's going to be 20 milliliters. So I think you have 8 milliliters of FPJ, 8 milliliters of BRV, 4 milliliters of OHN to 1 gallon. So when I have this mix, this jug, this glass jar, I put 20 milliliters per gallon, and then that ensured me that I got the correct 1 to 1,000, 1 to 500, 1 to 500, based on that. So this, if it was just 1 gallon, this would be 4 milliliters. This would be 8 milliliters, and this would be 8 milliliters. But if I combine that together, I get 20 milliliters, right?
Okay, great, yeah.
So that's easy for me. I don't have to go out and measure 8 mils of this and 8 mils of that and 4 of this. I just go and I just pour 20 of this, which is already combined for me. And I just combine this in like, my half-gallon jar that I'm working with, and then I keep all my other ingredients separate by themselves, and I just have my working jar. So then I just, because oftentimes, like, let's kind of like make fun of ourselves as natural farmers. You got all these little jars around, you're like combining all these things, and like, but in terms of sake of time, money, whatever, you just combine these into your one jar, show up, pour your one measurement, do it. You're good to go. If you already have a jar that you put a line at the right level, like you measure it with a syringe once so you get to that, you put a line, then you just pour your cup up to the line, dump it into your known values, and it makes it really easy. If you know you got a 2-gallon watering bucket, then you can make a jar that you pour it to the right line, and and you just dump it in.
Do we still have the 40% air thing?
Yeah. But however, there is 40% air to this too. But if you watch Master Cho when he goes to some place, he's like, okay, you need to increase your FPJ from 1 to 500 to 1 to 250, or you need to increase your bones to 1 to 800 from 1 to 1,000. So he's very subtle in the ways he'll adjust these. So even though you're off for your 40%, like that's a huge air margin. And when he's adjusting it from 1 to 500 to 1 to 800, that's only a small margin. So there is a fair amount of precision that you really can practice. And when you hit that right in that zone, and you actually hit that mark of 1 to 500, I read this paper out of Russia that talked about nutrient absorption and concentrations. And there's a it's a graph that goes one way goes that way and the other way goes that way, right? And the sweet spot in the middle where they mix is like concentration to absorption. And it turns out it's right at these 1 to 500 and 1 to 1,000. Like for each of these, the tincture is 1 to 1,000, and the BR or the FPJ is right at 1 to 500. And so when you dilute this way, you're hitting that graph. And like I said, it seems kind of mystical. He just has that high school diploma book, but all these things you later research them, and it's like, why 1 to 500? And it turns out that's where those graphs cross, is right in that dilution, which is like 0.4% or whatever it turns out to be. I don't know the exact math of that, but so this is the way I do it. I have my 20 I have this. I put 20 milliliters of this, and then right now at my school garden, I'm going to be including a lot more of this. So I'm going to put in probably 5 milliliters of this, which is about 1 to 800, right in that range. It's 5 to 6 milliliters of this. So in my total, I'll be adding 25 milliliters to my watering can per gallon, and then spraying or sprenching or drenching that on. And that will support the IMO that are already out there. That I can also take the IMO 2 that we made and mix this in as well. But usually I put all the microbes out one time, then I just go back and I feed them. So if I put a whole layer of mulch down, I'm going to spray a bunch of IMO on it, plus the foods. Then I'm going to come back next week and not spray more IMO, I'm just going to spray the foods. So IMO are really in the establishment stage, establishment stuff. This is a maintenance solution though. It's something you can do weekly, more frequently if you want, but you'll notice in plants that, like the taro plant for instance, every 7 days a new leaf emerges. So when a new leaf is emerging, it wants a little snack. So if you do the maintenance spray, now that new leaf has all the nutrition it needs. Puts on a new leaf, 7 days, you spray it the next 7 to 10 days, now it has a little snack. And it can continue to grow uninterrupted. It always has all the food, all the nutrients it needs. Most plants you'll find are on that cycle. 7 to 10 days, they're putting out a new piece of growth. And when you feed them, the new leaf is emerging, then they have the constant food supply to just continue. And it's this maintenance solution that is the big food. Getting these additives down at the bottom start to get into, you got to then read your plant. Because if you put, if it's already got this mature fire burning and then you throw fuel on it, you're going to run into problems. So these additives are more, you got to be a little bit more conscientious.
So I have a few questions. Number one, always IMO 2? We always want to use IMO 2 for this process.
No, the more you can get into IMO 4, the better.
Okay, so IMO 4 for 3, okay. And how much IMO of the IMOs do we put?
So usually I'm using about a tablespoon per gallon.
Okay.
But this is where the 40% air comes in of the microbes. Like, I'm just putting enough that I know they're in there. You don't need to overdose.
Okay.
So, okay, so the first 3 weeks is make the solution plus FAA. And then after that, you do WCB plus make the solution. And then you go back to FAA? Or
Yeah, so then...
As it's
So let me explain this a little bit. So I plant my taro plant into the ground. I'm just going to use taro as an example. Plant my taro plant into the ground. It's sitting there and it's waiting for its first leaf to emerge. So I got the huli. And so essentially, right then I'll spray on it the maintenance solution. Like I'll put the IMOs around the area. I'll spray the maintenance solution. Then the next week I come back, I plant it. So I've already done the maintenance solution for a week before I even planted my taro. Now I plant my taro, it's going to plug, I dip it into this solution, the huli itself. Then I put the huli into the ground. Now the huli is going to start to grow into this nice IMO and maintenance solution that I've had. So it's going to want to grow out into that. Then I come back the next week and then I'll spray with FAA plus this if I was really on it. Oftentimes I'm not this, like, I'm not, you know. But ideal in Drake's ideal world, I'd come back and I'd spray this, and for the next for the first month of the taro's life, I would be spraying strictly the FAA plus this, and what that's going to do is it's really going to cause the plant to grow up really tall, really fast. But however, if I continued that regimen, I would over nitrogen it, and then the corm would be soft, and I'd get lowly in it, and it would be no good. So what I do is then I start to alternate between calcium phosphate and fish amino acid. And I alternate those two, and what that enables it to do is it grows more leaf, but then it grows more structure and more roots happening.
So 1 week of each, 1 week of each.
So the taro then will grow up real tall for the first 6 months or so. Then the taro plant then starts to shrink back down. It starts to shrink. And that's when it's taking all of its energy from the leaf and putting it into its corm, which is the stem. And so when that is happening, once the plant's reached its plateau and it's starting to shrink now it's in its reproductive stage. So I'm going to start spraying onto it this Cal-Phos only. I'm no longer wanting to spray this FAA because I don't want it to grow more leaves. Like, it's done with that stage. So now it's in its reproductive shrinking stage. So before I was alternating, started with this, then I was alternating. Now it's shrinking. Now I'm only spraying this on it. So this plus my maintenance spray, I'm spraying with this, and it's starting to shrink, shrink, shrink. Then I notice it's in its last month of, you know, I'm going to harvest it. The stem's already starting to shrink on it. It's starting to get real nice and harvestable. Then I'll switch to this other one over here, which is WCA, which is, yeah, I'm just going to put it as eggs. And so eggs we can think of as the reproductive body part of the plant, and it's trying to put its reproductive. And so this one is made from eggshells. So it's like our egg and fruit and hardener type of thing. And so it puts all of its energy now into its eggs. You know, so it's transferring all this energy now here. So as it's in its last month of harvest, I can really apply WCA. That's going to really help it convert over any other energy into the reproductive part. It's also going to harden my collo up so that my collo doesn't have soft spots, that bugs aren't starting to get into it. It's really, just like an eggshell is going to be firm and hard, it's going to really help it to solidify up. And so I can then keep my collo in the ground longer than anyone else. And it will actually ripen before them because I'm aiding this plant through this development. So as I see this last little shrink off, I put on water-soluble calcium for like the last 2-3 weeks. in the last week before I harvest it, I include seawater into that, and that really helps to get the nutrients to go into it.
So the last week you include seawater?
The last week I dilute seawater 1 to 20, which is stronger than usual. Usually it's 1 to 30. I dilute it 1 to 20 and spray it on, and that's going to give everything that last week of growth. It's going to take all those nutrients and put it into the collo. And so now I'm going to have this collo that's going to be this huge corm, not much above because it's all shrunk and gone into the corm, and then a few hulis around that I can pop off and replant. And so now I've gotten this, you know, it's hard, there's no lowly in it, it's solid. It was able to grow up, then as it shrunk down, it put the energy into the stem, and now I've hardened off this nice corm.
And that's the last week of harvest?
Yeah,
the seawater?
the last week before I want to harvest it, I'll throw the seawater on it and then just drench it. And then in that last week, then I'll harvest it. And then now I've gotten all my nutrients from the seawater. I've really assisted it through this whole growth life cycle. And, you know, you're going to have a really firm corm with not, like oftentimes when we grow collo, we tend to over nitrogen it. And so my friend Kaimi is a kuti collo, like he smashes with a rock, you know. And he's real particular about the collo he uses. And oftentimes he'll cook a corm and then he'll scrape away 50-60% of the corm and just throw it away. And to our eyes, we look at it and you're like, why are you getting rid of 60% of your collo? Like, isn't that collo? And he said, no, the outside is real sugary, really sweet. What he wants is the very good starch on the inside. This very, it's a different, it's not as, it's a more complex carbohydrate in the inside, and that's what he wants, and you can feel it. If you cook collo and then you put your thumb, the sugar stuff will just wipe right away. The hard, good collo that you want is solid. You cannot just scrape it away the same way. You kind of got to use your nail to scrape it. You know, it's like it's hard. And so he'll take a collo corm this big and whittle it down to this tiny piece. You're like, it's kind of weird, right? We just think, oh, collo, throw it in, grind it up, you got poi, right? He just wants the starch. He doesn't want this sugary stuff on the outside. When you grow and you over nitrogen your plants, they will produce those sugars. And they won't build that complex carbohydrate that you need. And when you use these extra minerals here, this calcium and this calphos, it then helps the plant to make that complex carbohydrate. So not just kind of like fat kind of on the outside, but actually this core, you know, the mana part of the collo that is this carbohydrate that we want. And so when you grow this way, you can then produce really nutrient-dense, really rich stuff. It's not just quick sugars that you would burn off, kind of like white rice versus brown rice. The white rice you'll digest faster, but the brown rice has like the nutrition in it. And so this difference between that, you get this really nutritious collo that way. And so it's important. You can have huge corms in this system where you just over nitrogen it and you get this huge corm, but it's like eating a steak that's just fat, you know, like you want the meat, right, or vegan, it's like eating a fruit with it's all peels, and you want the fruit and the inside. It's like the peel you don't care about, right? Same thing.
How are you getting the bones and the eggs into liquid form?
So the bones are thrown on a barbecue and burned till they're black. So it's not brown, it's not gray, it's black in the middle, black. Then you dissolve that in vinegar. Takes about 5 days, it'll bubble a little bit, not as dramatic as the eggshells. The eggs one, you take the eggshell or the calcium carbonate that you can get, you toast it, low temperature. The toasting gets out the organic material and leaves just like kind of calcium, the structure of the egg. Toast it, then you combine that with vinegar and it'll bubble.
And
so
this is the brown rice vinegar.
Yeah. And for dissolution, it doesn't matter so much about the brown rice vinegar, just the higher quality vinegar you use. Just so everyone knows, the Heinz vinegar is actually made from petroleum.
What? The white vinegar.
The white vinegar and the one that says apple cider, it's not. They just add like caramel coloring to it or something. It's a complete fossil fuel product. Even though it's on the food shelves in the store and they pretend like it's a food, it's completely made from petroleum. So just be aware of that. Know what you're eating.
How
It's a
long-
cleaning
It is
product.
a cleaning product. I use vinegar to clean my food.
Yeah.
How long do we keep it in vinegar until it's ready to go? Until it dissolves?
You'll see with both of them, they'll stop bubbling because during the dissolution process, and the calcium phosphate, the bones one will turn this nice golden color. The liquid's this nice, dark golden color, and then it's done. And it's good to taste both these because then you tune your tongue to what does calcium taste like, what does calcium phosphate taste like, and there are these interesting tastes. It's kind of like this bitter, like flat. It's hard to describe taste, but once you get it, you'll know. And so those are the, and then basically I was explaining, I went through the colo stage to kind of explain how I used all three of these, but you can do the same observation with your trees. So you'll notice you don't want to start doing this fruit spray until the fruit is actually developed. So you'll see like a lychee or an avocado or something will put a flower and then a small fruit will start to form.
Yeah.
Wait like a week or two of still using this spray of this one before then you start to switch over to the fruiting one. And in the case of an avocado here, then you see the avocado fruit starting to form on the tip. You then alternate between this one and this one for a little while. So this one week, the bones, then this one this week. Because this is still in its morning sickness. Even though the baby's starting to form, it's still in that morning sickness stage of that transition. And so you don't want to just automatically just start feeding the baby. You're still in that transitional zone. So you'd alternate between this fruit and flower and that. And then it'll really aid the plant in its development of switching all that over to, you'll have huge avocados or, twice as many lychees on a branch.
I apologize, that was a lot of information. So we start switching between the WCP and WCA when? Going back and forth?
So
we start skipping back and forth between them?
So on a lychee, for instance, the lychee has the flower comes out, the flower gets pollinated, and the flower drops off. During that whole stage of the flower thing, that's when you should be spraying this in isolation.
Okay.
Before it's flowering, you'd alternate between these two, and then you'd see it starting to flower, you'd just spray this one in isolation.
Okay.
Now you got the fruit starting to form. You actually see the tiny little fruit at the tip of your plant. Now, during that stage, you're going to continue to alternate between these two.
Okay.
Now my fruit is starting to grow. It's been set on the tree for maybe 2-3 weeks. Like I can actually see the small fruit starting to starting to fill the fruit itself. Now I want to wean off this one and just focus on this as the fruit is developing.
So in the transitional stages, that's when you're going back and forth. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of the, like Master Cho talked about this, but I think a lot of got lost in translation. Yeah. Does this make more sense to you?
Yes, this is so much easier to digest.
I was curious, is it, there's seawater, Master Cho talked about seawater all the time.
Yeah.
Is that something we can add into this formula every time? A little seawater throughout the whole process, or at the 1:30 thing?
So your seawater is going to be most effective in 2 periods of growth. One of those is the very beginning, where you're establishing your IMO and your soil foundation. Seawater is very important. And the second stage is right at the very, very end, when your plant is ripening. That he actually has a recommendation for the last 3 weeks. So if you know, for instance, like lychee, it's going to come on at this week, that week, it's real easy to tell. You start the 3 weeks out from harvest, you spray seawater 1:30. 2 weeks out from harvest, you spray it 1:25. The last week before you harvest, you spray it 1:20. And that increase in seawater brings that increase in minerals, brings that really, really sweet, amazing fruit. And you spray a little calcium on there, it's going to help the peel stay real solid and keep and just deliver amazing fruit.
So 3 weeks out was 1 to 30 for the seawater?
Yeah. Then 1 to 25, then 1 to 20, then you harvest. You can even bring it down to like 1 to 15 if you really want. Like that's how in the sugarcane industry, if you spray seawater 1 to 15 3 days before you harvest, you'll have a 3% increase in sugar.
Okay, so it gets higher concentrated as you get closer to harvest.
Yeah, and the higher concentration does two things. It delivers the minerals, plus also that higher salt sort of stresses out the plant. And when you stress out the plant, it thinks, oh man, I better put it all into my seeds so the next generation has a better chance than I have.
Oh, what's the highest concentration? Is it 1 to 15 you said? Like
1 to 15, yeah, 1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's like more than that, you're gonna kill your plants and start salt problems but that's the effect that you're getting here to go to then have your fruits really mature, and that's called the enhanced ripening solution.
The last question I had is when you're going back and forth from WCP to WCA, is it still every 7 to 10 days you switch between? You go from WCP to WCA and then back and forth?
Yeah.
Okay.
And all these ones on the bottom are diluted 1 to 1,000. And I, however, I'm going to dilute my Calphos 1 to 800 because I need more of it. It rains where I'm at. It rains so much. Where we are here, it rains so much that the more IMO you have in your soil, the more enzymes they will produce. Which enzymes then, when it rains, certain enzymes will convert the rainwater into nitrogen. And that's why you'll notice after a heavy rain you get nice lush growth, but you also notice bugs come to eat your plants right after a nice flush of rain. And it's because they've solubilized more nitrogen. There's like it's more obese, there's more pressure on the cell wall, easier for the bugs then to attack and eat it. So in our case where it rains so heavy, if you get a heavy rain, like right now it hasn't, like if this was like an optimal natural farm, because it hasn't rained for a couple weeks, now we just got this rain, you'd go out and you'd spray Calphos. Like if you're, $100 an apple kind of farm, like high precision, you'd see this rain, you'd go spray a little bit of Calphos out here to buffer off that extra growth and to make sure the plants have what they need. So in our case, I just up my dilution like 1 to 800, so like 5 to 6 milliliters per gallon. And this then puts me into that zone so that, because it rains all the time, right? So a little extra Calphos really helps. The more IMO you have, the more nitrogen. And that's why we really, especially in Hawaii natural farming, we really downplay this. Most people think it's all about the nitrogen, all about that. But because we get so much rain, because it's so lush, because it's so vital, this one we don't really use as much. Using it properly, however, it can really get you a boost, especially in greens production, doing kale type stuff. This one can really, like alternating between these two with your kale. Talk about, you'll just get super lush, but then it won't be so lush that the bugs come. Because if you over nitrogen it, you want it to grow a leaf, right? So you put more nitrogen, but then the bugs come to eat it. So if you balance between these two for growing kale type stuff, then you're gonna, 1 week you get the extra nitrogen, it grows nice, then you add the structure, and the plant can balance that really well. So oftentimes for leafy greens, we'll just be in here. Lettuce, you'll always stay here, because it's just quick. But a kale, something like that, you'd be going back between these. You'd probably never use this kind of thing on a kale or a leafy thing. That's more for like, you got oranges coming on, you got star fruit, whatever, like sugar cane, your kalo, something that's a longer term crop.
Do you have like a sheet that says what to use with what?
Yeah, that's that small. So if you go to the Learn Natural Farming page, the first graphic was the microscope one where I was talking about weeds and then forest, and we want to be in the middle. The second one breaks it down by this way, where it says, okay, you're in the seed soak. You want to add this plus that plus seawater for the seed soak. The seed soak's kind of weird. You add fish amino acid plus calcium to it. Kind of interesting, but now you're in the leaf one, so it says you'd add these. Now you're in the, so I do have a graph that breaks it down, and it says for 1 gallon you add this many milliliters. Yeah, and yeah.
I have a question. If you have a tree that's in different stages, what do you do in terms of spraying? Like there's still some flowers. Like for example with lychee, a lot of times a lychee tree will still have flowers and yet it has fruit, even ripening fruit, and it still has flowers. How would you spray that?
So odds are that the reason that's happening in the first place is because it didn't quite have what it needed, and then it found this other boost. So a lychee tree, you really want uniform ripening to happen across, and if you manage it this way, odds are you're going to have more uniform ripening that way.
Oh, from the beginning.
However, there is a case like an orange tree, where the orange tree is flowering and it's fruit at the same time, and it's constantly in this phase. So it's not in this phase or that phase, it's in a spread between. So in that case, where after you're done with the season, you'd spray it with this, the fish amino, to give it like a little bit, it's just like sorry for the vegans, but like a meat meal after you've put out a lot of just had childbirth, then you eat some meat to replenish all that blood loss, all that, like, I don't know how vegans do that. You guys got to tell me about your culture. But, yeah, right? Just, you got to be a man. And then so you do this. So after having childbirth, you'd give it a dose of this. Then now you're getting your first flush. You kind of go through this stage, but now it's putting out oranges as it's developing more flowers. So you just alternate between these two. This one you'd leave alone. This one every once in a while, like your orange tree, it's like mid-season, it's through its way. You could do one of these because it's just like a replenishment meal. Like this one's like a real, the analogy of a fire is a good one. That every once in a while you want to stoke your fire. So this is a way of really adding more fuel to your fire as you're continuing on. And the cool thing with natural farming is a lot of people like Pancho he lives right in Puaco, by Hapuna Beach, and he now has a mango tree that used to have like a 3-month window. Now it fruits for 6 months out of the year, and it's because every week him and his girlfriend go around with a little wagon and they spray all their stuff. They have a little sprayer and they just go around in the yard and they spray everything. And by managing this, they've extended their season to be twice as long. And so it's a matter of giving it what it needs, and then every once in a while you give it this little fuel. You don't want to put a whole bunch, but it's like stoking your fire, and you just want to make sure that your fire is burning steady. And these are ways, like especially this maintenance solution is a way of just ensuring, it's like throwing a log on the fire just to keep it burning really well. Because these microbes, like I said, they're creating heat, they're digesting. They are a burning fire. We need to add the fuel to them. This is the way, and then this is a way to really get in sync with your plants, these bottom additives. This up here is just general, like everywhere we should be doing this. If we manage the land every square inch this way, the carbon buffering capacity is huge. The plants would all look amazing, like if we were really managing it with just the maintenance supply solution here.
On the 7 to 10 days every plant will put out leaves, is that hardwired into the plant, or is it responsive to its environment and to make new leaves? That's a whole new concept. If it's out every 7 to 10 every 7 to 10 days it does something, and then it rests and grows, and then it does it again, or is it when it gets water it does it, or when it gets the right sun it does it, or when it gets the right...
It's a combination between both. That just like a kid, even if you malnutrition the crap out of them, they're still going to change their teeth at a certain age. Like they may not come in with very good teeth and whatever, but there's a bit of it that's hardwired. Like you're going
sensitive to that, though.
Yeah. But just like a woman that's really stressed out, or maybe like I've seen it in people that run a lot, that they are very running, that then they won't have their menstrual cycle. They'll actually like skip it, or it just doesn't happen for them. And so the same can happen with your plant. Like when it's very stressed and it's always like, you know, like running to the bone, you know, because women that run don't have much fat. Like you just, you know, like, so that fat reserve that you need, that energy reserve is not present there. And so then you can skip these menstrual cycles. And so the same thing like the plant, even though, you know, like the woman at this certain age should have her menstrual cycle, if she's very stressed or in this environment that's not conducive for motherhood, then you won't go through these stages. So it's hardwired, but then it's also environmental from that aspect.
You do get adaptive responses. And will plants like coordinate, like the menstrual analogy is women together will get their menstrual periods to start having it together. Do plants do that on your farm? Do they then, everybody sort of get in the same 7 to 10 day cycle, or each plant has to be watched?
No, and I haven't seen that, and it's not like it puts out the leaf today and you got to spray it today. It's just within that zone.
No, it's just, this is more theory.
Yeah. And you know, the thing I notice about it is that the more plants you have, the more diverse microorganisms you'll have. So this banana then starts feeding this mango, that then starts feeding this, you know, this Job's tears or whatever. These plants just start working together. And if this banana needs more phosphorus now, but the mango doesn't need it, the microbes will suck it from over there and bring it over there, because the banana will reward them with sugar. And so they're managing these things, and they're like, so the microbes then will synchronize your plants and bring this to there and that to there when it needs it. And microbes always eat first. You think like you got this plant, you're going to put all this food for the plant. No, the microbes eat it first. Like people often talk about, you add mulch, it steals the nitrogen, right? Who's heard that before? Everybody, right? It's not they're not stealing the nitrogen. What they're doing is they're trying to create enough microbes in this. Now you've created this huge, in their eyes, huge problem for them, where they got all this carbon, and they need to have life in there, and good life, before the bad guys come in to occupy it. So they go as fast as they can to take the nitrogen to build DNA, to replicate, that they will go into the plant and they will suck that nitrogen right out of the plant. They'll plug in and they'll be like, we need it over here. They will grab it out of the plant and move it to then occupy your mulch. However, they don't steal the nitrogen. They're just translocating it. The nitrogen is still there. It's not gone. It's in the forms of bodies that's in this mulch. If you came to that thing and you inoculated your mulch first, you put a bunch of LAB, you put a lot of IMO into your mulch, you apply it, now the microbes go and they say, well, this mulch is fine. They don't steal it. They leave it in the plant. And so then the mulch isn't stealing your nitrogen. It's the microbes trying to replicate to break this product down, that you didn't pre-inoculate it with the life it needed, the beneficial life in there, that then they ate first. They always eat first. So even though you think you got this tree and it has it, they will suck it and move it exactly where they want and need to move it. And so if you manage them, you make sure they're happy and you make sure there's enough of them, they won't take it from your plants. They'll actually create more and pump it to the plants so that they can get more sugar rewards for whatever they're doing. So does that kind of clear it up of that kind of idea of the microbes eat first and they will move your nutrients around? Like no matter how much you like want to build an ice wall to stop the radiation from leaking out, like the microbes will move it where they want it, when they want it. Doesn't matter about your ice wall. Like
so they eat it, then they transport it, then they poop it out, and then it goes where it needs to go through that process. Or they die.
Yeah, they'll cycle it, or they'll even plug it. When you start to get into the complexity of what they're doing and how, like certain ants farm aphids, certain microbes farm other microbes. Like they'll put this type of food so that microbe grows, and then they can produce this acid. Like the complexity of what's happening is just. Yeah, how they actually get it and how they break it down and deliver it, they do, and it's
biofuels.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's the only thing left.
LAB.
Yeah.
It's a biofuel.
When I heard you mention LAB, I was wondering where that fits into this system here.
Okay, yeah. So this is good here. This is like fundamental natural farming. These are the IMO is the foundation, right? This is the maintenance solution. So this is what we would spray weekly after we got our foundation to maintain our foundation. Then we'd go up here. This is like our buildings on top of how our plants are growing. So now there's a couple other things in natural farming. One of those was the seawater that I mentioned. It's good here to establish the foundation. It's good to get the ripening at the end. The other microbe we use in addition to IMO is LAB. It's lactic acid bacteria. We sampled it last time. It's pretty tasty. It's tasty because your body knows it's beneficial. We're tuned to pick up on good microbes and to pursue them. So when you taste something and it tastes good, odds are it has good microbes or they've chemically engineered you. Yes?
Are you familiar with the IMO that KTA sells?
Yes, IMO Lizer.
Okay, so I picked that up. Is it just IMO that I purchased?
As well as spirulina.
As well as what?
No.
Should I not use it?
So I'll talk a little bit about the stuff that you get from KTA. These guys are the emergency.
Just a question.
Okay, so the KTA, the stuff that you buy at KTA is good. It's great. That has helped natural farming get out to the island. You know, I don't know if without that if we would have been as popular as we are, because everyone sees it in there. And the story with that is that Dr. Park approached Derek Parisi to sell it. He was kind of skeptical. He wasn't even really that stoked on it. His wife is into orchids, really good orchid grower. He brought it home. He gave it to his wife. She put it on her orchids. Her orchids like doubled in size, twice the sprays, without half the work. So it worked phenomenally for his wife. With that, he was sold. He was like, if it worked, you know, this way. So now it's a product that they sell on KTA shelves. You can get it in like 5-pound bags, I believe. However, you'll notice those 5-pound bags are sealed. They're airtight. When you cut off oxygen from IMO, it's just like cutting off oxygen from you. You will perish. What the microbes do is they then spore in some sort of spore form, where they'll put this, like, you know, it's like their eggs that they'll lay behind them. If, however, a microbe thrives in that airless environment, it will eat those eggs as food. So what can happen is you can grow microbes that grow without oxygen in this environment, and because it's so full of life, like IMO is life, it's a very fertile environment. And so typically the ones that grow without oxygen are not the ones we want to have out on our farm and out and away. So if it's old and it's been sealed from oxygen for a while, you start to grow more bacteria, more yeast, and more typically what we consider pathogenic. So the longer it sits, the more dangerous. Sorry, that's not the right word. The more
Less beneficial?
yeah, the less beneficial it is to you. However, that one there is super beneficial for leafy green type gardens. It's also very beneficial for cleaning up any animal odors. So you can throw it in a pig pen, your chickens, yeah?
I threw some out when I first bought it. 4 days later, I went out, my soil, and it was actually my duck pen. So I moved the pen over, I sprinkled the KTA one over it, and I just left it. I think my chickens went and they kind of scratched it up, but 4 days later, my soil is so fluffy. There's like no smell. I couldn't believe it.
And it is exceptionally effective in animal systems. The one you get from KTA, exceptionally effective. If, however, you take it and you use it on a fruit tree, you may or may not realize the benefit. But garden type leafy green systems and animal systems will be super effective. So, yeah, so just keep that in mind.
I kind of just got it for the poop.
Yeah, no, and it works really well.
I could make my own, but yeah, I was kind of surprised.
So, So the reason the KTA1 is effective is because it actually has a fair amount of lactic acid bacteria in it, the LAB. 70% of the microbes around are in a healthy system are LAB.
One more thing. I had a jug of that EM1, like every other week or so. I've been spraying that area too. Do they work together?
Yeah, so EM1 is the LAB. There's purple non-sulfur bacteria, and then we looked it up last time and it said yeasts. So that is what typically that EM1 that you buy for $30, $40 a gallon, is that same one that I read off to you that costs $16 a gallon for us to manufacture. That includes your labor.
And when
Or
you
13.
make it yourself, doesn't that also make it a lot more indigenous too? Like it's right here, local?
Indigenous to a certain degree, yes, but the other factor of making your own is it makes super broad family. The products you're buying are very narrow. They're grown in a lab. They're very narrow. The broad family then it enables it to be more flexible. Just like this auntie's good at that, that uncle's good at that. Same thing. The more broad the family, the more skills you're going to have.
Okay.
So the LAB I describe as emergency workers. So emergency workers are like when something's emerging, when something's brand new. You go out, leaf just emerging. Emergency workers, who they need. The IMO are like the guys that cruise, that just always there, kicking back. The LAB are like the policemen, the firemen, the National Guard when you have a disaster. They come in, they're serious business, you know, like they're going to clear the intersection, they're going to clear that car out of there, they're going to get traffic flowing again. The IMO are just watching on the side. Oh, bro, how's that? You seen that accident? Oh, bro. That's the IMO. They're not really going to go and help that emergency out. They're just going to be there cruising, checking it out, doing their thing, still vital to the whole system. But these LAB are the emergency workers.
You use it sparingly, the LAB?
So emergency workers, imagine we had a police officer on every single corner.
That would suck.
For a number of reasons, right? For a number of reasons.
No one's a police officer.
No, it's cool. I'm cool with everybody. So IMOs, that sucks for the IMOs, right? Because they're always, you know, like, granted, it may have some benefits, but it's like it interrupts your just cruising mode, right? Not only that, we gotta pay for them. A police officer on every corner is expensive, right? An IMO on every corner, bruh, can handle, right? An police officer on every corner, that's expensive. You got to pay that guy. So these LAB consume a lot of food, a lot of resources. But if you got an accident, you need to clear them. You need to employ them to go clear that area so that then the IMOs can get back to work. Right. So there is farming systems where they just use straight EM. But you'll notice those farming systems are real good for about 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And then they have problems. Because that first time when they're using it, they're using all the resources that are out there. They're just spraying the EM. The EM are super effective. They're cleaning up this emergency, that emergency. But then they keep spraying them, and now they're like, well, there's no more emergency to clean up, and now we're hungry. We've eaten all your resources out. And so EM can be effective in farming, especially coming in from a conventional type where they use chemical fertilizers, to go to EM, because you'll burn off all that stuff. There's plenty in the soil just chilling out there. You'll burn off all that, but then eventually you want to transition to an IMO. You don't want a police officer at every corner once the riot stopped, right? But during that time you do. So that's the time to employ your LAB, is when you want to establish, like the IMOs are coming in, they're like the moving service. They show them, oh, you're over here, you're over here. Okay, you know, we'll get this all arranged. We'll build your house for you. It's your Habitat for Humanity kind of guys, or this LAB. Then your people are there. Then you want them to kind of fade away. And so in natural farming, we use LAB as one of our tools. Where in certain farming systems, this is their primary tool. But for us, it's just one of our tools to support these guys, which then these guys will also eat this maintenance solution. So you can feed this whole system, introduce it there.
So what type of scenario would you want to use an LAB? Like what type of emergency?
So,
taro would have the rot going on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you got the
something
leaf
like
blight.
that.
You got some sort of leaf blight like that, the mosaic virus. You come out with the LAB, you spray it on there heavy with the maintenance solution. They'll go in there, the thing that's causing the leaf blight, they'll false crack them, put them in jail, maybe shake them down a little bit. We love the place, right?
So for disease.
Yeah, for dis-ease, or also say you overdose something for some reason, like whatever, you can spray the LAB. It'll return balance to your system. Say for instance, like right now, like it was dry for a while. Now it rained. This is a transition. It's sort of like an emergency on their level of like, this is a time where you could use this. The only real time you don't want to use it is right before you're harvesting your fruit. Because if I take this and I got a papaya and I spray LAB onto this papaya and I harvest it like an hour or two later or within a week, that papaya will taste like cardboard. The IMO or the LAB will eat out all the sugar. They'll suck out all the sugar and they'll eat it. And they will leave it sugarless. And so this is the reason it helps us combat certain fungus, because certain fungus, like you notice on a papaya, where does the fungus grow first? Down at the bottom, right? Down at the bottom. So it's extra sugars ripening because those sugars weigh more, the gravity's higher, they sink to the bottom, those sugars. Then the sugar, before the whole fruit has ripened, it's now, those sugars are available. Now the fungus has enough food to take an opportunistic bite. Now the canker starts to grow as those sugars develop. So as that fruit's growing, if you're not going to harvest it, today, you spray the LAB on it, it eats out those extra sugars, the fruit still matures. Then you spray the calcium and the other seawater on it. Now the fruit comes real nice and sugary right at the end, and you get uniform ripening.
So you spray directly on the fruit, or
you can. I mean, this is like super like high level management. I mean, I doubt probably all of us are more lazy than I'm talking about right now. But I just looking around, I'm like, But it's good to see this scenario, right, and to understand what's happening, and how the sugars interact, and how you can then, because it's all about sugar and carbon changes at the right time, hydrocarbons. So.
How would I prepare that IMO for internal consumption for, say, my ducks and chicken?
Okay, not for human consumption.
Yeah.
I'm not going to recommend eating IMO as a human. I can't say that. I do, but don't. This here, what you do is you take their food, and up to 10% of the food you're feeding them can be this IMO. So it has dirt, minerals, microorganism bodies, all that in there. And there's a whole way that you can add the IMO plus this maintenance solution in there to moisten it, and then feed it to your animals.
Okay, so in the case of this KTA guy, I could use that particular...
Yeah. Take a handful, especially if you have these other ingredients, mix it into their feed and moisten it with water. So you don't want it soupy, but you want it moist. And then it'll start to digest their food, plus then they'll get the microbes inside of them really well.
And a little bit of seawater too.
Yeah, seawater also helps with their minerals and everything. And the LAB is hugely a good component to put into the animal feed. This one plus the IMO, there's hundreds of stories of it, just LAB doing miracles for animals.
So I can add the IMO plus the LAB into their morning food.
Yep.
What you do is you make it 24 hours ahead of time, so it has time to ferment and to release all of that. When we do it to our animal foods, when I pick up the bucket, it's warm on the bottom. There's so much going on, and it's releasing all of the good nutrition for the animal.
Okay, because on cold mornings when the kids get sounds and it's a little warm. Yeah, okay.
So make it 24 hours in advance. If you're going to feed, so for today, I made my food yesterday at 4 o'clock. I feed my animals at 4, yeah. And so in that 24-hour period, the heat will happen, the fire that Jake has been mentioning, and then the animals, they love it. The animals will eat that, and it's already, the digestion process has begun. So they're able to really unlock all of the nutrition that is in the food.
So yeah, and I just learned a whole lot while Master Cho was here on the animal feeding system, and I'll be going more into that as I start to practice what I learned. So yeah, so. But Master Cho, his whole deal is he's an expert with animals, like, and I was even having this discussion last night, like the animals are a critical part of the farm. You know, like you go into a forest, there's animals. It's not just plants. It's like the animals are there, and they play a vital role. And so understanding how they work, and Master Cho's system's kind of built off this pig and chicken core. Like that's the core of your farm, and then everything else like cycles from there. And it's because if you go to our house and you go look at our pig pen, all the bananas growing around the pig pen are like 4 times the size of all the rest of the bananas. And the microorganisms that these pigs and make through this system and this deep litter and the way the IMO really establishes itself, it's creating these fungal networks. I mean, you go soil sample and you'll see all this biology living in there. And it's like an epicenter for it. And so that's where, like, for the animals to be a vital part of the farm, whether you're going to eat them or not, it's good to think of how to incorporate them as like friends to help, you know, like that's so
It's
that
11:15, by the way.
okay, solid. Yeah, I gotta go like 15 minutes. So
Love you, Rick.
what's that?
You have to be there at 9.
Yeah, so I'll just take the last 5 minutes to wrap up, kind of, and just so today I was kind of intending on going through Cho Young Song's thing, but I think this was a better thing to go through. Do you understand the nutritional cycle a little better and how these different amendments are going in? Because in the beginning it can be overwhelming because I'm dealing with 8 different tools, but if you realize basically I'm combining these 3 always into everything, and then I'm just alternating these at different times. Now I've already taken care of 6 of them. And then I only have 2 more. I think makes 8. Maybe there's 9 because there's seawater too.
So it's like the top 2 is appetizers, and the middle is like our main dish, and everything else is like dessert.
Yeah.
Like a dessert tray kind of.
Yeah, this is like the plate, the foundation, the plate everything rests on. Then here's our meal, and then here's our dessert. Yeah.
Fish guts for dessert?
It's sweet.
Yeah.
It's sweet when you good high quality fish amino acids are really good actually. Fish sauce. Oh, you could drizzle it on ice cream. It'd be so good.
In Thailand, they eat fermented fish sauce.
Yeah.
Ooh. I just have one more question because we talked a lot about the worm bin and the worm juice producing the fulvic humic acid. Where would that fit into this?
Okay, yeah, so this was something, and when we made this tea later, you'll notice we included IMO plus these tools here. And when you're really gonna bulk up IMO, the main thing we want to focus on is the fungus part of bulking it up. We don't really care because there's bacteria, there's fungus, and there's nematodes. Those are your main 3 classes, and there's protozoas. Those are your 3 classes, but we're really primarily focused on the fungal aspect and the fungal aspect of the IMO. And so anytime you're trying to multiply this IMO, which was basically the lesson that we've been talking about here, was how do we make this first ingredient? And this first one's pretty complex. It took us 3 stages. This is our 4th series kind of on this. And anytime you're making more of this, you want to include humic and fulvic acids, which are essentially wood juice. The juice of wood, like, you know, and so fungus loves to eat wood. You go in the forest, you see a downed wood, you see a mushroom growing on it, right? Fungus loves to eat wood, so when you get wood juice, and anytime you're trying to grow these guys, if they have the juice that they want to eat, they grow much faster. So the humic and fulvic acids are in this first step. That this one's kind of, even though it just looks like one thing, this is actually its whole thing inside of this. You can include it here also in your maintenance solution as well. Dilute it 1 to 200 if you have worm juice, and it will really help these systems. I didn't.
What was the proportion? 1 to 100?
1 to 200 about for worm juice. and that will really help you out. I didn't include it here because this is it's really best in this step, and then when you start to use it here, it's pretty advanced. Like, I mean, go ahead, use it. Like, please do and experiment with it, and use it in this system here as well. But this is the fundamental. I wanted to get you like the bare bones, and then those are, you know, like, so this is your ice cream, but then you can put chocolate sauce, and you can put nuts, and you can put sprinkles on it.
Oh, little add-ons.
Yeah. Maybe some goji berries.
Mineral A.
Mineral A.
If you don't have warm juice, what's the delusion?
So if you're gonna use, you can buy humic and fulvic acids made from leonardite, and you can buy those from the hydroponic shop or any grow shop, and those are then diluted 1 to 500. If you're gonna use a coal concentrate, because they're stronger.
Made from
leonardite.
Leonardite.
I have a question. Before we go into next week, I just noticed with last week there were maybe it'd be nice to like practice it somehow, so I had like a understanding where he's coming from, like a context or something. Is there anything I need to know going into next week that is like, oh, I wish I would have known that first, and that all makes sense now?
It's his son, it might be
Look
different.
into the future.
Throw some each in. So the thing, like, you're talking about transitioning from Master Cho to Choyun Song.
Yeah.
So what I would say is that Master Cho really understands this on a spiritual level. It's along the lines of like Rudolf Steiner, like biodynamic. He has roots into that level, and so it's really mystical, and it's really about the subtleties of life in that. Choyung Song, on the other hand, is like Master Cho will tell you, gets 95% of his knowledge from the Bible. Choyung Song will say, well, I studied chemistry and I analyzed my father's work, and these are the common denominators, and if I do this analytically this way, I get this result. And so it's much less like about the stars being there, and more this like, you know, much more materialistic in that realm. And so I ultimately, I think it's good to get exposure to Master Cho first, to see this depth, to see this thing, and then to go see the chemical analysis of it, where if you mix potassium hydroxide in water, you're going to get heat, kind of like, where it's much more of a man idea. So where do you find potassium hydroxide in nature? Nowhere. It's already refined for you into that. You know, you can get it from ash, but it's a product that you buy. So I would say the thing about it is to like recognize the depth of this, and then to see you're just going to get this slice through it, which takes these methods and makes them very low cost. But when you lower the cost, you lose other aspects of it too. And so it's good to have that reference. You know, for me in my teaching, I learned from Master Cho, and then Gil came from the Philippines. And Gil laughed at us for all these things that we did, and these things, like, he's like, people in Philippines can't even afford a tarp, and you guys are like doing all this fancy stuff. And he's like, so there's always cheaper ways to go about natural farming, but Master Cho really has the high precision methods of like, you follow this, and like, it's like the Ferrari, you know, like are there nicer cars, maybe, but like, you know, like it's like it's up there, you know. And so just keep in your mind like why you would want a Ferrari and why you would want, you know, a Toyota truck, which Toyota truck for a lot of us, that's more practical, right? And you want it, but you at the same time you want to, like, if I just teach you how to make a Toyota truck and we always proliferate the Toyota truck, then we're always stuck in Toyota truck land. We don't know that there's a Ferrari out there that we could, you know, whatever. I mean, the Ferrari is getting less and less of a good example, but you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what I'm trying to convey, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a Tesla.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, electric cars.
I don't know. All the environmental savings is just pushed somewhere else. Anyway, but
let's
So with this philosophy of farming, will it ultimately absolve the need for weeding and some of the other maintenance that traditional farming lends itself to?
This combined with permaculture, 100% yes. I would say, like oftentimes I look at farms and majority of the energy spent
weeding
is not on the plant itself.
Yeah.
It's like mowing the grass, or it's clearing this, or it's like the plant is like last on the list of like, is my plant okay? It's like we spent all this energy doing all this. And so my philosophy and where I'm headed is with these methods, if you're akamai in terms of permaculture, and then you really enhance the biology underneath to like connect the above and the below together, majority of your time you can spend is like, you're chopping this to drop it on there. You're not just cutting it for some, like aesthetic reasons or some other, it's like all your energy in the system is now going to feed the system. So it's like you're cutting grass because you want to feed the microbes over here. And like everything to me has a deeper purpose. Permaculture is all about stacking functions. I'm here today, but I'm trying to cure heel wilt, and I'm like connecting with my friends, and I'm doing all, and I'm thinking on all those levels of what am I really doing? Am I just drawing, or am I trying to build a beautiful picture? And what's your larger goal? So I see permaculture combined with this can really make your time you spend on your farm for your farm and for your profit out of that. It's your time, it's your energy. What do you want at the end of the day?
A lot more leverage.
Appreciate you coming down today, Greg.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, so I just want to give you a little preview here of Young Song, and just so this Master Cho talks all about strengthening your plants, all about this. But often people like Master Cho's here, farmers are here, and Cho Young Song gives a bridge to get through to Master Cho, because oftentimes farmers over here, they're spraying fungicide, they're spraying pesticides, they're spraying these things, and they don't know how to get to Master Cho. They're like, yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have nature and like be in harmony and not poison myself or my family or my land? But they don't see how to get from there to there because it's too disjointed. So I see Cho Young Song as a transition, because what I have in my hand right here, this is the world's most effective pesticide. Any powdery mildew, downy mildew, cankers, fungal problems, you spray this on there, leaf mites, you spray this on there, they will go away. They'll be done. This here costs about $0.01 to make this whole thing. It's so inexpensive. This is the transition technology that people are used to spraying. They got fungus problems on papaya. They can spray this. This is edible. You can spray this directly into your mouth. Tastes kind of funky. It's a lot of sulfur in it. You'll smell my breath now. At least you might smell sulfur in there. A lot of sulfur, but this is now an edible pesticide that I can spray. I can stop all these fungal diseases. This is the answer, because Master Cho, you got this pest. What do? He's like, well, strengthen your plant. And you're like, yeah, but now you just spray this, kill that sucker, then strengthen your plant. And this gives us that bridge between. So he's going to teach you how to make this.
What's it called, Bella?
This we're calling natural bug solution, because we can't actually call it a pesticide, because then a black helicopter will come and put me in jail and it won't be fun. So it's a natural bug solution, and we have something else that we can't call an insecticide, but it works just like one, and so this then can target slugs or fire ants or perhaps even coqui frog or whatever, without killing the other animals that we want to have around. And so these solutions definitely will take care of ohel wilt, way better than the fungicide will, this stuff right here. Any and all these solutions, he's going to teach us how to make these things. So this is Master Cho's methods of fertility, this combined with then permaculture. And we have, in my view, we have all the tools and all the techniques we really need. It's just a matter of applying these then. So you got the thing to take care of rescue technology, you got now the strengthening technology, and then it's just all about combining those systems so they work synergistically with each other.
Nice.
So yeah, so he'll make a huge bottle of this with us. It's sulfur and potassium hydroxide and water, and lava rock and salt and red clay. Super simple, really easy. All those things we have on the island. Yeah, really easy to do. So I wanted to just show you this to you today. And any other questions?
Try that. I didn't get to try.
Oh, I thought you wanted to try that. You can try them both. Yeah, just a tiny bit. No, so this class, I'm gonna be at Young Song's class next week. So just tiny, yeah. It's all
So
good.
nothing next week, but the following?
Yeah, then the following week, yeah. And the following week is when we're gonna go do the IMO 4 stage and get that together, because Dana will probably be better by then, and then we'll just move forward with that. So that's finishing up this first ingredient, which is something we've been working on for several weeks here now to like make it all cool. And
Is there no class next week?
no, but take Young Song's class. It's $300 and it's 2 days and it's action packed. Literally from 8 till 7 p.m. at night, you'll be in the full deal.
I thought it was 3 days.
The third day you only get if you went to the first thing.
Any recommendations on the IMO for the soil, where to get, how, or how much?
Whatever dirt you guys got around here, we'll just use it.
I think Dana said something else. The whole 50-50 thing from the mountain and from the...
Nah.
Alright.
Nah.
Thank you. Where's the 50 feet up? Huh?
Yeah.
Neighbor's land.
The bubbles cost 50 days?
Yeah.
Is that for the WCP?
No, it's just the fish amino
Or
acid.
it's, I see.
He's using MAA. Mongoose
That
amino
pig on
acid.
Okay.
DPAA.
And that's
Dead
equal
pig amino
parts, that's equal parts of the mongoose plus the sugar.
Yeah.
In there.
Yeah.
Awesome, thanks, great.
$15 been to the class.
Yes.
That's not from our internship, and then we're shipping